I have a feeling about this.
Is this really how you want your mortgage to go down? Is this really how you want your life to spiral out of control?
Yeah, you're going to raise no matter what.
Facts.
You are the big blind. There is no question about it.
Right.
Yep. You stay raising. Hey, one of J Mike's favorite show titles. Come on,
Open
J Mike.
Bra.
That was funny. That was a good one. In case you were wondering, we's alive. It is the open bar. It is 9:30 Eastern-ish. Very much heavy on that ish.
Heavy.
In more ways than one. Y'all, I'm sorry. We just lost track of time entirely. I was napping like 20 minutes ago. So, are we? J Mike, are we podcasting tonight? What?
We are. We are podcasting tonight. The final open bar for the month of May, before a week's break in the action. We've got as excited of a panel, guests, friends, dare I say, this evening, as I've been excited for in a while. So this is good stuff. We're here. We're live. The open bar returns, as the chef has told us. So this is good stuff. Happy to be here.
I feel like
and say what?
I feel like you're trying to push those words real closely together to make it sound like you're not saying what it actually is.
No, it's the open bar returns.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
It's the open. It's the open bra, for sure, man.
I don't mix words, Jack. let's get it, Bucko.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this show for a while. I know you said this pre-show, but I kind of like to flex on the audience a little bit and tell them how much I like these people. Because when you first scheduled this show, and first of all, thank you for scheduling our shows, J Mike. I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to make that show because it is 2 days after the birth or the due date. And I don't know how this works. And I started looking up statistics of like, okay, what are the odds that a baby is born on a due date? And it's actually like 5%. It's not even like, even a favorable date. Like I couldn't believe that 5%. Like I would expect at least in the maybe like 20.
But
like
in your head,
it's
automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a big window.
Yeah, it is. No, an incredibly large window. Yeah. It's very much the normal curve and 5% is big. Those are good odds, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, we're here and I'm so happy. I'm just so happy. I'm happy I can make the show because I was looking forward to it a lot. Genuinely. It appears that we're taking a week off next week, J Mike. I don't know if that's actually for me or is that just for you? Like you, are you taking a week? Cause I wouldn't take a week off. I don't care. I would never. So I feel like you are, kind of using me because I'm having, a child within hours, days, minutes, whatever. And you are taking a week off. I mean, what is this?
The original plan, just because, I rub elbows with the fantasy bigwigs. The original plan was to have Matthew Berry, Field Yates, all those real big timers to be able to cover while you're gone.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I want to continue to do this with Gabe when he's ready to come back. I don't want to force him back into action. I just want to let him know, look, if you take a little too long, you know what I'm saying? I know people now. That's all I'm saying. So
you're gonna move on.
I'm not, listen, like you said, I'm not trying to flex or anything. I just wanted you to know I care enough about our show and our relationship to not have you Wally pipped. That's all.
FF Wally Pip. What'd it do?
I thought I was reaching back with the references.
Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Spaceman there. I did in fact use Peter Howard's due date database, but Turns out Breakout Age wasn't exactly all that accurate and not a good model. So I'm just going to have to go and watch the tape. Some have suggested that I don't do that in the delivery room, but I ain't scared. Come on, let's get it. Look, Zach's scared. He's like, don't do it, bro.
You are going to be on the right side of the curtain, I think. There, Gabe.
Oh man, come on. I'm scared of moths for sure, but I that's one thing I know I'm afraid of. Moths. Have not been in a delivery room before, so I don't know
You should be able to
if I'm
handle
afraid
it
of
just
that.
fine.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like okay, moths.
If
scary,
only
for
moths
sure.
scare you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're good to go then, man.
See,
You won't be scared, man. When you get in
Thanks,
there,
guys.
it's not scary.
It's one of those things where you get in there, you adapt to your surroundings. You know, it's all good.
yeah.
It's like I can't watch gory TV, right? Like I can't watch shows where there's like people getting cut open or killed, shot, all that stuff. But in real life, like if somebody's leg breaks in a game I'm playing, I can actually handle that. Like I can handle it real. I can't handle it fake. It's sort of weird.
See, what I can't handle is poop.
Well,
Hey, never be good at something you don't want to do.
Well,
You know,
with that,
I got really good at it for like 4 or 5 years when my kids had it, but now it's like what I don't get is like my wife will go change other people's kids' diapers, and
Wow.
I'm like completely
I'm
out
completely
on
out on that. Yeah. That's a hard pass.
that. I don't know how. I mean, but women are
After
like, oh
the
yeah,
fact.
I'll change
like
him.
going
I'm like,
back to it. She's cycling back through.
it's like she doesn't differentiate between her kids and other kids. I'm like, I'll change my kids. I'm not changing no other kids.
Hey, your wife had both kids at home. She is a different kind of animal.
I'm a stay at home. I my wife went back to work and I stayed at home.
Okay.
well, hey, shout out to you.
Bless you.
This-
The goat
I
district
changed
always be
thousands of
traded.
percent.
Babies always be pooping. Okay, I get it. I'm with it.
and that's serious business, Pete, because for a lot of the people who have been hating hardcore on either stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads, and everyone's getting a giant dose of that right now. All of a sudden, the level of respect and admiration for what they do. You talking about the real hero.
God. My wife's a stay-at-home mom, and I go to work, so I'm working from home now, and I hands down I can't do what she does, man.
The whole game's changed. The whole
It is
game.
right. I'm like a professional shut-in because I was a stay-at-home dad. I still am, and I work from home. So like, not a lot has changed for me except that everybody else is now home. So it's sort of like, you know, personal space disappearing. But like, I'm an expert at what do you call it? Like cabin fever, when you're just always at the damn house.
I don't know. I love staying at home too, though. I love it.
Rapping fever.
Yeah, you know, it's like social media and like in the attic. That's my life.
Pete, I think you need to open up a hotline for the community.
I've actually never seen you outside of this, room that you're in. Have you ever left it?
Well, I was thinking about leaving towards the end of February, and then things changed.
Yeah.
Guys, I think I'm finally ready.
had the courage. Yeah.
What's that? That's on Shameless when that wife is like afraid to go outside. What's that called? Do you guys remember?
Oh, right. I
I've
don't
never
know
seen
what it's
Shameless.
called, but yeah.
You've never seen Shameless?
Those are the earlier seasons, right?
Yeah, that was like right
Yeah.
away.
Okay.
Season
I don't
1, I
remember
think.
That's a weird show.
maybe-
Every time I watch it, I like it, but I don't binge it for some reason. But it's always funny when I watch it.
I hated my life after I watched it every single time. I'm just like, God, I feel like I wasted a whole hour of my life.
But I feel better. Like they don't have it so good, but they always seem like pretty good with not having it good at all.
Right,
And
right.
it makes me feel a little bit better at least. So
Right.
Maybe
They
I
make
should
the
look at
best
that
of
way.
what they got.
Was it Pippin during the Last Dance? He's saying like his family, like they grew up poor, but they didn't know.
Right.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't know
How
any
we
better.
live,
Yeah.
You know,
It's just me living. Yeah.
yeah. But that's what it's like when you're a kid, man. Your life is what life is. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Until the internet happened.
Yeah.
Until the internet.
Well-
All right. Well, yeah.
That's good.
Let's look. What are we doing here? Are we even going to introduce our guests, J. Mike? We talk so highly of them that we like them so much that we're happy to be there with them, but we don't know who them are. So them are. Let's start with. We have to start with my favorite executive producer of all time, possibly the only executive producer of all time. We don't know, but Jake. My dude, back to the NFL Draft Talker. I feel like we had a part in that at least a little bit. So happy to have you back on, dude. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
How are you doing, dude?
Wild.
I'm good, man. I missed you guys for sure. This is, like running up to, and my son just turned 1 last week, so like over a year ago, I talked to Peter, and I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna take a little break. And then this was at like over a year ago, and you know what? I decided to step away pretty much in totality, except just hanging on Twitter here and there. But everything's been good, man. I feel like it was a needed change. It was a needed break, and but I do miss this kind of interaction,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when you can't have it in the real world, not allowed to. And this is all that we've got.
Yeah, but how many people in your everyday life are you talking about? Dynasty fantasy football with?
Yeah,
Not enough.
Not enough.
I do until they tell me to stop, which happens pretty quickly.
They're like, Pete, we don't even play fantasy football.
No, that's exactly what happens. Certainly.
We get it. Keep your 20 seconds. We get it, Pete. Gosh, chill out, man.
Yeah, I still see you on the Twitter though, Jake.
Yeah,
still protecting Alexander Madison, still protecting Adam Thielen. Yeah, I swear you will never close your Twitter account just so those guys stay propped up.
That's
just
it.
so they have a voice.
Someone needs a voice.
It's true. And it's not like I don't disagree with you either. I don't know where the hate's coming from for those guys, but we'll get into it at some point. Anyway, good to have you, man. Happy to see you again.
Good to be back.
Pete, the Rotobahn, vroom vroom, daddy, vroom. How you doing tonight?
I'm good.
How you doing, my whiskey friend?
I'm doing good, brother. We spent so much time behind the curtain. My whiskey's almost finished. I'm gonna have to pour another.
Yeah.
But things are good. I got to get you guys on the whiskey pot.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I drink.
definitely gotta get
I feel like I definitely check some boxes as far as being a guest there.
I think you check several boxes.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jay Mike does the whiskey or not. But I know you've spoken of it many times.
Yeah, no, J Mike's got that Blanton's in the tuck.
Okay.
He loves himself some Blanton's, just here and there. But
I'm fairly new to that game.
Yeah.
The only rule is the only rule of the show is whatever we're drinking, we both gotta be drinking. So like I'm trying to get from my guests what they like, and then I scamper to try to find some of it.
My vote would be Japanese whiskey, and at this point in my life,
My favorite whiskey is actually a Japanese
obsessed
whiskey.
with it. Which
It's,
one?
Nika.
Yeah, the coffee.
Coffee malt. I love that stuff. I
so
can't get
good.
enough.
Oh,
So
dude,
good.
I gotta find you guys my Japanese whiskey. It's delicious. I can't remember the name of it. It's a guy. I work for a Japanese company, so they got
Really?
Japanese whiskey. Yeah.
Oh,
So many people have said so many good things about it. It's like some of them are really tough to afford, though, is the thing.
Yeah, I think the one I'm talking about is like $70.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not terrible, but
I can break for that. But I mean, like, once you get up into the C note area, I'm,
Right. Yeah, 3 digits might be one too many digits.
Yeah. It may be arbitrary, but you got to draw lines somewhere, man.
Facts. Well, let's lead that right into you, Zach. J Mike thinks you're a newcomer to the show. You can act like that if you want, as you're introducing yourself and talking about Japanese whiskey and things. But welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you back for the first time.
Thanks for having me back on for the first time. I mean, I did have to bail a little early on you guys the first time, so I'm glad you accepted me back. onto the show because I know it was a blast the first time I was on, and I'm sure it's going to be a blast for these guys the second time around for me. So I'm excited to talk some ball, man, because I mean, I got my podcast, the Dynasty Draft Room, and I just wanted to give Jake a little shout out, man. Thanks for the uplift on the logo. I don't know if you guys saw the new logo or not, but Jake was a big help for that. We did a facelift with the site, so we're like, we got a facelift logo. Who should we hit up? Let's hit up Jake. See what he's doing. So he did a hell of a job, and it's got a hell of a response to it. So I'm definitely happy with it, man.
That black and red, that is mighty bold, mighty bold.
I just spent $180 on my apparel website because I'm like, this logo just looks too
Nice.
And that's what trips me out about Jake. Jake had, he obviously he flipped the whole game up. Jake Anderson, PGA, doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Said something about Q School in his bio on Twitter. It's like, man, I know he mad miserable behind that facade. You threw my behind, man. Give me my man's back.
I quickly realized that Twitter was not the right avenue for the golf business side of things. Just
LinkedIn, bro.
Yeah, I'll do my Facebook and Instagram and keep that kind of golf centric. But yeah, Twitter was not the right movement there.
Well, probably when you've been so invested into football for so long, like you probably pretty much only know football people that you can't really. I mean, sure, you can connect with people that are already football that also do golf, but kind of they're one and the same, not separate.
Right. Yeah.
No, but for real, shout out to you for doing, because you're doing the Avies again for Scott Fishbowl, right?
I'm gonna try to.
Okay.
I mean, it's always hard this time of year because it's definitely my busy season, and Scott Fishbowl hits home like in the midst of it. But we're gonna try to recruit some more guys to help out with those, just because it gets too intense. But we're definitely gonna be helping out with that again, raise some money.
Scott Fishbowl, man. It's here. Invites went out, yesterday and today. So it looks like there's going to be about 1,200. We'll see. That number certainly can change. It has before. Looking forward to it. Let's see. And one last guest. Speaking of Scots, super into the transition game tonight, man. Scott, the fantasy chill. All right, what's up, dude? How are you doing tonight? Good to have you back.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me back. And I have to say, all this talk of quarantine over the last couple months has it's tested the moniker of Charles Chill, because it has been difficult. It is
Charles not so chill.
Not so chill. I will say you guys caught me on a good day though, because the gym's opened back up here in Ohio, and that's like a day I've been looking forward to for. It's been at least 6 weeks just counting down the days, and we finally got some clarity today. So I'm on that lifting high from about 6 hours ago, and I'm ready to roll. So I'm glad to be back.
I think the Brussels sprouts just don't hit the same without the workout.
They don't. They absolutely don't, man.
My man is serious about his Brussels sprouts.
That's day one of that. I posted it yesterday. I'm only going to eat them 5 foods for the next 60 days. So Brussels sprouts are one of them. So it's going to be a little difficult. It was good today, but give it like 2 or 3 more days, and I'll be probably regretting that decision.
How do you cook Brussels?
I just bake them. Simple. Bake them. Maybe a little
Make sure
sauce.
they're well done. Just a little bit of crispiness in there.
Yep.
The only way I'll cook the things is on my grill.
Oh, that's not bad in the summer for sure.
I use a cast iron pot on my grill, like next to whatever I'm grilling, and I can actually eat it. But I can't cook them in the house. The whole house smells like Brussels, and it's just like I can't handle.
It's an acquired smell, I would say.
Yeah.
It's quickly acquired once you put them in the oven.
Yes.
You guys ever do burnt broccoli in the oven?
Oh yeah.
That's delicious. That's one of my favorites.
It's got to have that crisp to it.
It has to have
the crisp.
Yeah.
I do broccoli the same way.
Burnt broccoli.
I'm addicted to like this big charred cast iron pot, using it on my grill. I can't stop. It's so good.
Does that fit up there in your room?
Do you have good ventilation up there? Or?
Is that allowed?
Houses in New York, they just built different, bro.
Fire department has been called several times. Not by me. I was like, no, it's going to be okay.
Right. J Mike, man, what should we talk about? Is there anything happening these days? People doing drafts, people I don't know.
There's all sorts. I feel like there's all sorts. And I was going to ask this group, are they tired of talking drafts? But when you look at everyone's podcast and of course the tweets from the NFL Draft Talker, then at this we're not out of the woods yet. We're still grinding these drafts. We're still grinding these rookies. And before we even get into that, we had a trade question in the chat from our long lost brother, Aaron Bogan here. So shout out to you, the main man himself. Trey went down. He said he's not telling his side, but he wanted feedback. Kelsey and Eckler or Amari and a 21 first. I know what you're already going to say, Scott, before you even say it. You need league specifics. Mm-hmm. You need number of starters. You need to know if it's tight and premium. I already know. I know that. My man says know your league specs, period. But in a vacuum, channeling our inner Finero here. Shout out to you, Finero. Nothing's in a vacuum. I get it. But Floby. In a vacuum, Kelsey.
Isn't it a Floby? Floby, right? Is that what it's called? No,
Finero, the person, as in
no. You're talking the vacuum thing. The vacuum reference. Is that a Floby?
Nothing's in a Floby. Yes,
yeah.
Nothing's in a Floby.
In a Floby. All right. The Flobin bar.
The Flobin bar. Which side you guys taking?
Give me Coop in the first, man.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Give me Coop in the first. I'll tell you, I mean, being more of an NFL draft guy now and kind of straying away from fantasy football a little bit, I obviously love talking fantasy football, but give me Amari in this 2021 first, because I'm going to tell you right now, like I've studied already like 35 guys in this 21 class, and it's gonna be a good class, dude. Kelsey's getting up there in age. He's a tight end, first of all, and obviously one of the better ones in the league. But I really don't think Eckler's going to be putting up the production we're thinking he's going to do. I really do think Josh Kelly's a solid back, and I think those two I think he's going to be stealing carries from Eckler this year.
Especially with half PPR too. Yeah, I think
Jackson too.
Amari.
Yeah, no tight end premium. That makes it really easy.
No tight end premium. Yep.
Because I was thinking Amari and Kelsey are somewhat close, and then I'd rather have the first than Eckler.
Yeah, and I'd say Amari's above Kelsey for me.
I would too, especially a non tight end premium.
Yeah, and then that 21 first is ahead of Eckler for me too.
I would say
J-Mike and I have been talking. I'm sorry, Scott. J-Mike and I have been talking about when to sell guys at kind of their peak, and because they won't be the same kind of next year. And I feel like Eckler's one of those guys for me. I can't really see him going much kind of, up than this, because he just kind of is what he is. Unless we're expecting like a Kamara type of expectation for that, then sure. But I don't know. I don't see it. Like you said, Zach, they drafted a running back. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again next year. I wouldn't feel safe with Eckler being like consistently involved in the offense and being incredibly efficient like he has.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Tyler's comment in the chat, though, that, and this may be a hot take, but I'm starting to become pretty tired. You're going to probably hear a lot of this over the next couple months from me. Wide receivers don't matter in Dynasty anymore. We're starting to get down to the point where, you know what, there's just so many of them. I mean, I've seen teams built with not even a top 20 receiver, and if they have advantages at other positions, I think that's where you can leverage. You look now at what did we just add? 17 receivers in the first 2 days of the NFL draft, and talking about 12, 15 more next year. At what point do they start to get saturated to where, you're going down the line, just check out an ADP list, and you can go 80 to 90 deep of receivers that are relevant in fantasy. Now, that doesn't mean they're necessarily guys people want to trade for, but I just think it's starting to become saturated. The targets are getting spread out. Very rarely now can you predict who's going to be the guy that goes from, can you project a guy to go from 130 targets to 150, 160? I think you can make the leap to get him to 120, 130, but I don't know if you can necessarily project him to become really, really elite. That's what you're looking for in a hit. So I don't know. Maybe just
I see what you're saying. Like that. I mean, that definitely. You're not making sense. I can definitely get on board with what you're saying. But man, Amari Cooper, Tyler, is the third best wide receiver on his team. Yeah.
How disrespectful! How absolutely disrespectful!
It's starting to feel like Amari's becoming a trade target for me, just because I've heard so much sell action on him, and I love Lamb, but if you can get Amari at a decent discount now, it feels like you might want to test those waters.
If people think Lamb's just going to take everything away from Amari now, I really don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, Lamb's a hell of a prospect, but I mean, Amari Cooper is. He's one of the best route runners in the game. He's got really good. I mean, I think
he's still young. He's still relatively young,
I mean, you could argue him top 10. I mean, I think maybe just a little bit outside that, but you could still argue him top 10.
I think sometimes a lot of people are so high on Gallup that they've sort of downgraded Amari for no real reason. Sure. And I think people are too high on Gallup personally.
Me too.
Well, I think this deal too. You can trade
that he's going to be a superstar, and I don't really see it.
I think this deal, you can trade Austin Eckler for a 2021 first. So do that. And now you're looking at, would you rather have the advantage of Kelsey versus the other tight ends or Amari? That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And I look at this league, you can only start 4 receivers. To me, Amari doesn't give me any advantage at all.
I have a feeling like Kelsey was the prominent piece that guy's probably targeting. He's probably a little bit older trying to go for the championship. I don't know if he's going to be doing just – Eckler just for a first, which I agree with you there, maybe.
I mean, it depends what your needs are and what kind of window your team is in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a team where if I could land Eckler, it would put me right in the contender slot, put me right up in the top 2 or 3 teams. So he'd be worth more to me on that team than any of my others. So,
now, are we worried about Eckler's just reception?
Yes.
Talk about it.
I'm terrified for it.
Upside. We're going from 100 targets to 60,
and the quality of targets is going down.
Yeah, the whole offense isn't going to be quite as good. So.
Rivers is a savant when it comes to feeding running backs.
Well, the thing I feel is a little bit funny, and it's like everybody's completely out on Keenan Allen, but I don't feel like Eckler's getting that same level of treatment. Like, to me, I think Keenan Allen is so good that he's going to produce regardless. And I know it's going to probably be less volume, but he's another guy that I feel like is a prime trade target right now because he's like every single person is down on the Chargers offense, and I get that. But I think Keenan is that kind of level receiver where he's going to get his production regardless almost of the situation.
Yeah, and I think, Rivers fed Allen and they worked well together, but Rivers confined his route tree a little bit. A stronger on quarterback will expand his route tree, I think, and a mobile quarterback perhaps even further. So the big plays for Keenan, the bigger yardage plays, we could see more of those without Rivers, even though the volume could come down, even though the efficiency could come down. The big plays could come up. Possible.
I think also something that is being underrated that right now I want to have picks going into this season because we don't know what the impact's going to be with the virus stuff. We don't know how many players are going to get it, if play is going to be suspended. I don't want to be a team that doesn't have those extra assets in reserve. So that may lean towards getting extra draft picks. So I would definitely look to flip Eckler for a first if I could, just because I want to go into this season with multiple extra picks because if I need to bail myself out because of an unexpected injury or unexpected, something that happens just because of the circumstances right now, I want to have a lot of extra flexibility. So I do think, that any deals involving picks, I think are a little more preferred for me at this point over the summer, on my dynasty teams.
On a bit of a side note, would you also want to trade out of this year's draft because those rookies aren't going to have the same type of, preparedness going into the season and possibly just the same season that a rookie would have? Would you be willing to just trade out of this this amazing class willingly?
I mean, I've found it. I've already completed 45 rookie drafts, and I've found it very. Yeah, I know.
I hear you say it every week on your pod, and I'm sorry.
This guy finds time to go to the gym, guys. This guy finds time to go to the gym.
Hey, he's built different, man. My man Scott is a grinder.
Yeah. F
point,
hustle
though.
sprouts.
I mean,
That's hardcore.
I've found it difficult this year when you get into the, second round of drafts to trade out for future picks, and you look at the profiles of the players you're passing up for that.
You're having trouble trading out of the second?
Well, I mean, you know what? If I'm trading out of a pick where I'm going to take T. Higgins or Henry Ruggs, I want a future first, and the offers haven't been there as an abundancy as much as I thought they would be. I thought I would be so. I found myself with tons of shares of those, early second round receivers.
Players keep falling. Like that middle of the second is still good, and then the end of the second is still good. So, I don't think people are willing because they're like, "Oh, I'll just get the next guy. I'll trade up for Chenault at the middle of the second."
Well, and people see that 207 and they go, "Well, I can't give up a first for that."
Right.
Yet the profile that they're picking was probably equivalent to the 109 last year, and it's just the disconnect hasn't been. I haven't had that luck of being able to trade out for as many future picks as I wanted. So I've been on a ton of these, second round receivers just because that's the the best profile there.
There are like 4 receivers going in the second round consistently that I have ranked higher just on a grade than Treadwell was a couple of years ago, and that guy went right at the top.
102. Yep.
Why you bring up Treadwell? Why?
I'm just saying,
I was so pumped
that
when
was
the
a weak
Vikings
class for sure.
Right to the heart, dude.
The middle of the second round is crazy. I mean, I got if I've got Ruggs on the board in the second, I'm just taking him. I'm not even trying to trade out. Just give it to me.
Yep.
And Scott, obviously you've done a lot more drafts, so you probably have a better sample size than I do. But I just completed a draft yesterday. And actually, no, I'm sorry, it was this morning, 4 rounds. And this was the one draft that people like second rounders, it was so much action. And I feel like you're saying, a lot of people are like, no, I'm good. I'll take this pick. I like what I'm getting. You can keep whatever. 2021 first. I'm like, no, I think I'm good. I'll take Laviska at 209. This works for me. I'm okay. Whereas in some drafts, in this draft, and I found it so interesting because it's a league that doesn't have quite the activity as most in terms of just kind of the week to week and the constant chatter going. That how you have some of those leagues. This isn't one of those leagues that has that constant chatter. But for 4 days, I mean, it was nonstop. People giving the world to get to their guys in the second round. So, and this is kind of what we anticipated is that. League to league, I think we had a pretty good idea that things were going to look very different. So in some leagues, you're going to be able to get Darrington Evans at 307, and in some leagues, he's going to be gone at 205. It's all over the place, and that's what's made a lot of this really hard to put a finger on. Even if you're trying to scan ADP for DLF, shout out for the home team. Because we are, a DLF podcast.
Our team.
We laugh about. Thanks, Matt Price, if you're still watching.
ADP is crazy, man. I don't even look.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers.
Yeah, so, Gibson just went at 205 in a league I'm in.
Ooh. A buddy of mine said he went in the first round of his league last week.
Wow,
man!
First freaking round.
I was just looking at all these wide receiver drafts, by the way, in the first round. The NFL has butchered it ever since 2014. It has just been awful. Y'all started talking about Treadwell, and I was wondering about just were they drafting wide receivers in the first round that year because of the previous year's success? Nope. Because Amari Cooper was the only good one there. Kevin White, Devontae Parker finally broke out in year 5. Cool. Aguilar, Perriman, he broke out with Jameis Winston hucking up. Who knows what, and then we obviously know the Corey Coleman, Josh Doxson, Treadwell, Will Fuller is meh. Gee whiz, are y'all scared at all? With I know we are excited about this class and everything, but just kind of knowing that, and I don't know, people kind of do this for a living. They scout players and they think they're good and stuff, and they draft them to professional football teams. So y'all worried about any of these first round wide receivers? Is it possible that like the majority of them bust? I mean, I know we're in it now and we've been excited for it, but like, what's the difference?
I think it's hard to like just get drafted in the first round and have those expectations. And a lot of like those teams have those holes to be filled and they need production like right away usually. So they're kind of getting thrown into a situation where they're expected to perform at a high level pretty quickly. And then you get the second and third, round wide receivers, and they're probably, they can take time to develop. They don't have as much pressure on them. I don't know that. Throwing that out there, but that could be part of it.
Yeah.
Well, and the people that, like I said, were hesitant to trade in, to the middle of the second round to grab one of these receivers, the narrative has really grown over the last month that, hey, these rookies are going to have a steep learning curve. They're not going to make as quick of an impact. So I think that's caused a lot of people hesitancy to trade into these drafts. But I think at the same time, if I look at, some of the profiles of the players that are going in that range, do they get credit for basically a redshirt season next year at this time? So even if they don't necessarily make a quote unquote impact, we're sitting here next year in May and, say a guy only plays 20% of the snaps or something like that as a rookie. And are you really going to downgrade him from a value standpoint because he did have that steep learning curve, no OTAs, no mini camp, limited training camp? So I look at it as, I'm investing in, say I invest in, take someone like Bryan Edwards. We don't know a lot about his health. So, but is his value going to drop from now until next year if he doesn't make much of an impact? I think a lot of these players are going to be forgiven value-wise because of what's going on. So it works both ways. You're hesitant to trade for them because they're not going to make an early impact. But I don't think we're going to lose a lot of value on these guys where, I don't think we're going to get many Paris Campbells, J.J. Arcega-Whitesides, Andy Isabellas where, a year later they're down, a 200% in value from last year. So it's kind of a give or take depending on what side you're on.
The guys that scare me this year are the guys who, if we end up with a lost season, are not special in any way. I'm worried about the guys where another rookie comes in behind them and I'm worried about it. So, guys like Keyshawn Vaughn scare the shit out of me because if it's a lost season and they reshuffle the deck, Keyshawn Vaughn get taken out by a third round running back next year. So those are the guys that scare me, guys like that.
And that's
I'm not trying to diss Keyshawn Vaughn. I actually think he's a decent running back.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm really not. but he's not special.
Diss away, man. Diss away.
No, yes. Most overhyped rookie in such a great class. I just can't imagine taking him as early as he's going. Other options are
because I've seen him at a Rieger. It's crazy.
Why is A.J. Dillon going 6 to 8 picks behind Keyshawn Vaughn? Explain that to me.
I mean,
you'll never see me do that.
I mean, Keyshawn Vaughn is better than Dillon, but Vaughn's
what's he better at Dillon at? Everything on his profile is worse except for his landing spot. That's the only thing propping up Vaughn. It's ridiculous that he's jumped into the first round. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he should not be in the first round, though. He should not be in the first round. That's for sure.
Zach, what were you about to say when I feel like you had a point you were about to make at some point in that?
I think it was something about Keyshawn Vaughn. I forget now.
Well, if it comes back, bring it back. Feel free to. Before we run too far away, I'm going to take us back for Zach. I want to go back for a second. There was a discussion I was having with a couple of FF friends. Shout out to a couple of my compadres, kamikaze. I've got Berg. Obviously, you guys know David Berger, Emmy Award winning producer in the building, as well as Robbie Jeffries, who was just here a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. Time flies. But we were discussing, trying to figure out what's the difference. Oh, and Cody from TFA, Cody Kutzer. If I left him out, he'd be so upset. What up, Cody? We were discussing Keenan Allen, obviously with all the changes going on, and we were talking through what's the difference in terms of value between Keenan Allen in a changing situation and Brandon Cooks. And while you guys chew on that for a second, so if you're making a trade for either one, what are you adding to either person, depending on how you feel? I don't know. What are you adding to either person from a pick standpoint to get the other? Now, this is kind of where I had landed, or where we landed in our discussion. So quiet as it's kept, the last 3 seasons, Keenan Allen's been relatively healthy. And by relatively healthy, I mean he's missed like 3 games in the last 3 years. And I want to just throw this out for you guys. Keenan Allen's targets the last 3 seasons: 159, 136, 149. Those are his targets in the last 3 seasons, all of which put him over 1,100 yards, basically on the doorstep of 1,200. He had 1,196 in 2018 and 1,199 in 2019. So over almost 1,400 yards in 2017. So in Los Angeles, we know we're getting the lion's share of targets to Keenan Allen. And if everything that we know about targets being earned says anything, we know that Keenan Allen's got the lion's share. He's going to be good for 125 targets, probably minimum, right? Brandon Cooks, everywhere Brandon Cooks goes, now this is team number 4 that he's about to don. Everywhere Brandon Cooks goes, we know that we're getting over 1,000 yards. We know we're getting probably right around 6 touchdowns. Last season was a little bit different. He got hurt. Things were weird in LA, but he's going to give you 1,000 plus yards, about 6 touchdowns a year. Now he's landing in what we think is a pretty nice situation with Deshaun Watson. But again, in terms of people getting on the same page, all these different things, I'm curious, what's the difference between those 2 guys for you all?
You'd have to give me a lot in addition to Cooks.
Yeah. I mean, Cooks was damn near free before he went to the Texans. And I think, doesn't he have 4 or 5 concussions? Like that's a serious.
You could make all those concussions go away. I'm talking about this.
Keenan Allen's injury prone too, remember?
No, he's not. That was the most overblown injury prone label of all time. Thank you for that. I'm glad you're fucking with
concussions
me.
We're talking about retirement.
It's like Jeff was didn't do that.
I was about to get throat punched over here.
Yeah.
He was coming for your neck. He was coming for your neck.
But also, I think it's different from Keenan staying with the same team, a lot of the same coaching staff, than a wide receiver changing new teams. Yes, he's going to have a new quarterback, but he's still with the same organization. I think that's a much more difficult hill to climb, changing a team than it is, just changing your quarterback.
Yeah,
He's done it a couple of times though, so we got to at least give him credit for that, right?
That's
so
true.
just to probe you guys, and Zach and Scott, I still want to hear from you all on this. But Pete and Jake, you're saying you need like a 21 first to go with Cooks if you're coming off of Keenan, or do you need more than that?
I feel like Brandon Cooks is, as sad as it is, and I think he has been undervalued, is almost a throw-in type of player.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
I agree.
You're not paying a second. You're not even paying. You're not.
I'm not talking Brandon Cooks. The concussions are a big deal.
You're taking like a 3rd-round flyer for Brandon Cooks right now. I mean, that's what. Listen, that's the reality of the situation. We got it. We do have to get past of what you have done in the past and what is, what we can actually expect in the future. And I don't know if we can put a lot of faith in him staying healthy and producing like he has his whole career.
It feels Jordan Reedy to me at this point. It does. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just not something
I like that dart throw, but
that's you
got to get him for cheap. You got to get him for cheap.
Yeah, if somebody offered me Cooks for cheap, I'd say, yeah, sure, I'll take Cooks for cheap because the upside, if he happens to stay healthy, is very nice. Mm-hmm. He fits really well with that quarterback, but the second concussion was an extended absence, if I'm not mistaken. And whenever you start seeing those long concussions where it's 3-4 weeks, that's dangerous.
And they also have Kenny Stills. They also have Will Fuller. He's a little bit of a redundant asset in that offense. Yeah, he's not the only guy stretching the field there.
It's true.
I mean, yeah, even Will Fuller too. I mean, but if you want to look at it from a talent standpoint, I mean, Brandon Cooks, in my opinion, never rivaled Keenan Allen when it comes to talent overall. I mean, you look at his route running ability. I mean, I feel like people talk about this like day in, day out. Like this dude is one of the best route runners to ever hit the field. And it's true. I mean, his savviness in his routes is unbelievable. And he's got some pretty damn good hands, too. And he's not injury prone. I think we made that clear.
I don't know about you. You kind of
the dude's a good player, man. And he was always better than Brandon Cooks. So, I mean, if you're talking about Keenan Allen now, Brandon Cooks, I mean, you're looking at Keenan Allen here, Brandon Cooks. I mean, you can't even see my hand. It's off the screen. Like, it's a huge drop off there.
The one thing I would say for Cooks is he's finally playing with a quarterback that's really got some downfield ability. He played with an older Breeze, an older Brady, a Goff. It's nice now he's got a quarterback who can extend plays and really sling the biscuit. So it's too bad. It's too bad we're not seeing young Cooks.
You're not wrong there, man. I would agree with you there. You're definitely not wrong, but I forget, Jake or Pete, one of you two said it. It's like they got Stills, they got Fuller, they got Kuti, they got all these other guys that are similar molds wide receivers. Like you just kind of have an abundance of the same type of wide receiver.
Yeah.
Cooks who's different though. You know who's different though, as far as where he will be positioned on the field is Cobb. He's going to play the slot more than any of those guys. He's going to play the slot like 90% of the time, probably. Is it possible that he is like the most reliable and also like the cheap? I mean, Stills is probably cheaper, but maybe the most like
not by much
reliable.
Yeah, I mean, I see him walking into 100 targets pretty easily.
Yeah. He's another guy who fits the quarterback. Cobb's really good when the play breaks down, and Watson breaks plays down.
But that's also probably a player that's just. And I've always been a Randall Cobb fan, but he's probably in the point of his career where he's a really good NFL player. I don't know if you're going to be feeling great about sticking him into your starting lineup,
Randall Cobb forever. No Randall Cobb slander here.
I love Randall. Hey, you will not hear it from me. I love Randall Cobb.
I mean, the worst thing about Randall Cobb is that he played in Green Bay. That's about it.
From an ADP standpoint, just to give you guys a quick heads up, Keenan Allen.
Where are you getting this ADP, J. Mike?
Hey, DLF.
Hey.
Maybe watching the live show. Maybe watching the live show. Gabe and I, the sole co-owners now of DLF. So Ryan, move out the way. Everybody else, I need to go.
I'm not gonna get invites to Scott Fishbowl, bro. Be careful.
You're gonna be like, what are they talking about? Just ask Matt Price. He's the one. Talk to Matt Price about it.
Did you guys? Sorry, I gotta sneak this. Did you guys see what Scott sent to Derek?
Mm-hmm. Incredible. To Derek, the FFRX. Derek. Yeah.
He sent him an email saying, you are officially not invited.
Nice.
Just to bust chops, right?
Oh, yeah. So good, man. Because they always play this thing that Scott hates Derek, and it was just...
You are uninvited.
Because he shows it in his notifications. And on the email alert, all you can see is you are formally not invited.
That's a pretty good troll. That's a great troll. Keenan Allen's wide receiver 20, and Brandon Cooks. Any guesses where he lands?
37.
No, lower. Probably
lower.
51. 49, 51
Higher.
range.
Wide receiver
47.
44. He's nestled behind Brandon
I thought he may have gone up a bit since that.
Yeah, I was just about to ask when the trade went down. Didn't the trade go down before the draft? Or no? Okay. So he's nestled behind Brandon Ayuk, Laviska Shenault, and N'Keal Harry. And he is in front of Mike Williams, that's all good. Mecole Hardman, and Deontay Johnson.
Mistake on all three of those, especially Mecole and Deontay for sure.
He's at least better than Brandon Ayuk, though.
So, J. Mike, you mentioned.
If you guys talk to me,
I like Brandon Ayuk.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say you mentioned 149 and 159, right? 2 of the 3 last years in his targets, right? For Keenan.
Yeah, yep.
So I mean, look at last year. 24 guys had between 120 and 140 targets. 4 players had more than 148. So we're talking if he's down at the 136 range, which I think we can anticipate that the volume is going to be a little lower from last year, right? In Los Angeles, regardless of who the quarterback is. especially if it's Tyrod for longer. I think the volume has a potential to be even lower. He's not in special range anymore. If he's getting 130 targets, that is not special. There's going to be 30 guys.
Yeah, but he's wide receiver 20.
I get that, but I guess my point is if I can get the first plus Cooks and then maybe turn Cooks into a first, process-wise, I am taking that all day because I can replace the top 24 receiver production for even less than a first if I'm pretty savvy. So I'm looking at it more of Keenan's not a buy for me, especially if the narrative keeps going that his targets are going to go down. I think it's out there, but like J. Mike said, if he gets 135 targets, that's pedestrian. There's going to be 30 other guys that get 130 targets or 125 targets. So
what's our rationale for saying the targets are going to go down? Just they're going to throw less, or
I mean, Rivers was up there in the top 5 in pass attempts last year. He passed it 591 times. I mean, I don't see the combo of Tyrod. True, but I mean, do we really care if we're just looking at targets and we're just looking at? I mean, I guess the point about his yards could go up potentially, or his yards could get matched. Yeah, I guess I'm just looking at it from you sit there and say, well, I want a guy that's going to get 135 targets. That sounds great. It's just not special. It's not, I'm going to add a first rounder onto Cooks for, Keenan Allen. Instead of doing that deal, I mean, shop it for 15 other players and see if you can get it cheaper before I pull the trigger, I guess.
So that feels like to me that you're almost ready to sell Keenan for just a first.
I think there will be, if you try to shop it, Keenan Allen for a first in some drafts, I don't think you could have gotten it this year. Ooh. I mean, how many people are trading CD Lamb for Keenan Allen?
Well, not CD, maybe not CD, but I mean, in Superflex, later first.
In Superflex, Judy, Lamb, Rager, that's 109, 110, 111.
I mean, is this Keenan over those guys though?
Is this season a unique time to where we might want to start trading 28-year-old players? 27-year-old players, because we feel like we might not get this season out of them, and they're going to be. I mean,
I was saying earlier because
I'm just throwing it out there.
I think if you have a team that's stock full, let's say you had 6 picks in the top 24 of this year's draft, and you drafted 5 rookie receivers, you're not feeling confident about the production you're going to get year 1 from those guys. But
I mean, is there a rookie receiver in this draft that you feel good about as a rookie? I can't think of one.
Judy,
posting numbers this year.
I'm pretty confident in Lamb too with the volume that Dallas is going to have. I mean, I'm not talking about 120 plus targets, but I wouldn't be shocked if Lamb got to 100.
So you think?
I would say Jefferson or Mims.
Let's put it this way: is there a rookie receiver that's going to be a top 36 receiver this year?
Yeah, Lamb and Jefferson for me.
Definitely.
I think
Ruggs could be too.
36. I don't think
Ruggs could be too.
I don't see Jefferson being top 36 unless Thielen gets hurt.
That's fair.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I disagree with that too.
I mean, and I love Jefferson. Don't get me wrong. I think
I know you do.
He's 1 or 2. I love him.
Yeah,
I think sometimes we get a little bit too enamored on windows to sell players, and I don't think we need to constantly churn and be so afraid of losing out on a player's supposed value, and production at some point becomes more valuable than getting out. You know what I'm saying?
Tyler's in the chat. Ask Tyler if I churn players.
To piggyback off Jake's point there, it's getting off of these 28-year-olds and whatnot, but I feel like we get too excited for these rookies, man. Like we're selling these rookies, we're selling these veterans who have produced for us in the past for rookies that haven't done anything yet. Like, maybe it's time to buy some of these guys for these young cats.
We say rookies hold their value, and in general they do.
Yeah.
But look at Andy Isabella. Look at N'Keal Henry. Look at J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who was a late first rounder in a lot of drafts last year. Like these guys are not holding value. Like you have to have some level. You have to have some level of production in your first year to at least sustain. I mean,
at least a story of hope, right? Or at least a story of this is going to get better.
I picked Isabella off of waivers in a 14-team league. Like, people are out on these guys.
I was never
COVID stuff.
But I think you don't drop them after 1 year. Not in that offense.
Will the virus stuff give these guys a pass? Because I don't care about production if the 11 over owners in my league still value the guy where I drafted him at.
It depends if the virus thing actually makes an impact.
I don't think it's going to make much of an impact, to be honest with you.
Well,
I mean,
that's
facilities
the
are
magic.
opening up. They're going to start ratcheting up. Like the NFL is going to do what the NFL is going to do. Like, I don't think this is stopping the NFL.
Well, positive players testing positive are not going to play. We agree on that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So, to me, it's a big unknown. We don't know how many players are going to be testing positive. And here's the thing. What happens if one team gets hot in a bad way, meaning they got a bunch of guys? Like if one team has a significant problem, they can't just let that team not play.
Right.
And what if
The interconnected nature of the schedule is a problem?
What if a quarterback goes down, misses 3 or 4 weeks in the middle? I mean, I guess I'm just writing narratives where, let's say a quarterback goes down. Do you basically forgive the whole entire season for the offense? If a quarterback goes down for 4 weeks and doesn't ever get to work with his rookie receiver, and then it's, week 6. Well, I mean, I think you're right about the impact. We can't predict what the impact's going to be, but I think if you're
bank on this stuff, but it's an interesting conversation for sure.
Well, that's why
it's a real
I
thing.
said before about if I'm taking deals like this, I want to I want to have insurance on my teams. So if I think there's a player that I can pivot off of Keenan Allen to and pick up a future first-round pick. Now, maybe Brandon Cooks isn't going to produce what Keenan Allen is. I think the big gap in value is that we have no idea what Brandon Cooks is going to do. Mm-hmm. But we could maybe write a narrative where he's a top 24 receiver, potentially, possibly.
If he plays 60 games, sure.
Yeah. So I guess I look at it as, if I can get a good value deal, I don't mind selling a guy like Keenan Allen because there's going to be players available. Here's the other thing. I mean, if you have extra picks, what happens? There's always that fade place of the season where teams start selling out cheap. What if they're willing to sell you Adam Thielen for a second rounder in the season? You can replace Keenan Allen's production. You're sitting on the future first, and you potentially can replace the same exact production you were going to get from Keenan Allen. So I don't know. I don't think we can look ahead and say, well, the guy's going to be a top 20 receiver, so I'm going to take the deal. I think we have to look a little bit deeper.
He's at wide receiver 20. I think it's more because of that age threshold that he's getting close to. It's not because he's going to be wide receiver 20. I think he's still going to flirt with top 12 wide receiver this year.
And we haven't even talked about the fact that Allen might be playing with a rookie quarterback X number of games. For all we know, it could be 16. That's never good.
Well, and the reason his values dropped a little bit, I think, is because Rivers moved on, and we don't know what the situation is going to look like. What if Justin Herbert isn't all that, and they're looking at the same situation next year with the shaky quarterback situation? He may never have any stability in his career anymore.
And even if Herbert's not good necessarily, maybe he can be good, whatever. But is he going to throw as much as Tyrod would throw? Yeah, he's not going to throw as much as Rivers, because Herbert runs the ball too. Not nearly as much as Tyrod. I get it, but he certainly is not going to throw as much as Phillip Rivers. And I think it's fair to say that he's not going to get the same amount of volume in general with Mike Evans there, with Eckler there, with Hunter Henry there. And the fact that he's
Allen owner,
kind of not good and inaccurate and all this stuff, I don't know. That's tough.
I want Justin Herbert in there ASAP if I'm a Keenan Allen owner.
Yeah.
I don't want Tyrod Taylor.
Absolutely.
That's guaranteed low volume.
No, absolutely. That's guaranteed. But I'm saying that
I don't want either one of them.
But it's a downgrade from Phillip Rivers. It's got to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Phillip Rivers was not
just
good
volume-wise.
No, he was not.
Volume-wise, sure, but Phillip Rivers was not good last year.
He was as bad as Winston.
Let's not forget that.
He's a style fit for Keenan, though. That's the thing. These other two guys are not. That's the problem I'm seeing. Is that Keenan's he's a timing route guy. He's a small window but predictable window guy, and I don't know if these two quarterbacks fit that.
Pete, I just want to run back to your comment earlier about any of the rookies being top 36 this year.
Oh boy, J-Mike, here we go with the top 36.
No, I'm not even going to that. I'm not even doing that.
It was an arbitrary number.
Research. I was running that research.
I love these quotes going on the bar line here.
And as I told Scott, we were doing the same tracking over the season and we didn't know it, but he was I think I threw out a tweet, and then literally he was doing a show on it the same day. It was funny how that worked out. But just when we track those top 36 finishes, basically where how often people were doing it, things of that nature. But if you look at the wide receiver 36 last season in PPR, let me make sure I've got this set to regular season. Yep, regular season PPR. It was Curtis Samuel was wide receiver 36 with 106 targets, 54 catches, and
54
touchdowns. Right. Six touchdowns, and he had 19 rushes for 130 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So I'm curious, and I tried to dip my toe into projections last year. Peter Howard was helping me out. Shout out to Peter; he's in the chat. I'm not grinding enough to be like in that, so I just leave that to the smart people who are really killing that. But I'm curious in terms of this rookie class, who we could look at getting, above the 100 target threshold, and if they're getting over 100 targets, they can fool around and bump their head on that area, because behind Curtis Samuel, I see only two other people who had over 100 targets, but were not top 36 receivers. Just to throw that out.
I think last year was a bit of an outlier as far as rookie wide receivers getting in that top 36. I mean, you're right, Pete. It doesn't really happen. It hasn't really happened like that well since that 2014 class. AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, like that's pretty prolific for that to even happen. That many to get inside the top 36 is pretty impressive. So yeah, it's not necessarily fair to put a rookie inside there, but I think there are a few situations to where it could happen. Certainly.
I would say the best shot is probably Pittman. Just in terms of a guy who's going to start and potentially, if Pittman were to play well, he could do it. But these other guys, Lamb, I think might need an injury. Judy is playing in a team with a lot of guys. Jefferson's playing on a team that doesn't like to throw. Ruggs is playing on a team that's largely undefined. Rieger's playing on a team with a lot of guys. It's just Ayuk is a little bit raw. I just don't see any of these guys coming in and commanding major target loads, either based on them as a player or the situation they're in.
I think Lamb's
Mims?
a lock
How about
for
Mims?
over 100. I think
How about who?
Mims.
Mims is the one guy I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. He's my one receiver I'm just absolutely out on. He's not even on my board.
Wow, this is why he's not hot, J. Mike.
No, I'm just not a Mims guy. I understand that there's a lot to like.
Why don't you like Mims?
Why don't I like Mims?
Yeah, let's get into it.
When I watched him, he didn't have much separation. I didn't see enough that I liked. I like the ball skills. I like the measurables. But I think he's a little bit
underrated as a route runner, to be honest.
He's 100% underrated as a route runner, and I'm gonna tell you,
I don't think the routes were terrible, but the separation wasn't there.
That's what I'm getting at. It's these little nuances that you got to look for. It's the subtle little arm tap on the trailing arm. It's the guy just to drop just a little bit, and all of a sudden he's got the ball right over his shoulder.
Yeah, but is that kind of nuance going to work on Sunday? I don't know. I don't know.
NFL route runners do, or he's pacing his route just enough where he can use his length to extend and catch the ball. I'm all for it.
He's a phenomenal contested catch guy too, and I think
those are all skills that play better on Saturday than Sunday.
True, but I don't think he's like, there was a lot of contested catch wide receivers in this class. I don't think he was one of those guys that he showed his athleticism.
Oh, I'm not saying he's a dog, but if I have to use a first round pick to get Mims, I'm out. No way.
I don't think
no way.
There's too many guys who I know are good.
No, but you're getting him in the middle second.
I haven't seen that.
Here's my worry on Mims. He's old.
He's
going to be 23 in October. If he doesn't hit right away, we're now looking at a 24-year-old next year that didn't do anything early on. From a value standpoint.
Probably playing on a new coaching staff that didn't take him.
Potentially, but you know what? I look at Higgins and Ruggs and Rager and Lamb and Judy. These guys just turned 21. They have a lot more leeway to absorb a season with COVID impact or maybe lack of production early. So, if you're looking at a draft, I will take Ruggs over Mims all day, all night.
Me too.
because I think, someone like Ruggs actually has a chance to. Would you be shocked if he's one of the top 3 targeted rookie receivers this year? I mean, this may be, one of his higher end target seasons until the other receivers there establish themselves. But I think he has a shot to get top 36 this season.
Well, and Tyler was talking about allegedly. J. Mike told me this privately on the side that said, "Hey, Tyler said in the so-called chat that CeeDee Lamb was the wide receiver 1 in Dallas, and he was going to get all the targets or whatever." I mean, that is a bit much because there are 2 very good wide receivers already there. But like you're saying with Ruggs and, sure, Mims, I think you could argue that they already are the best wide receiver on their team. And I will say, Scott, that you're wrong about Ruggs because the number 1 wide receiver in Las Vegas right now is Bryan Edwards. I mean, everyone knows that. Come on.
And that's what I was going to say. I think you're choosing. I think the value wise, it's mostly like Ayuk, Mims, or Edwards. I don't think Mims is in that category with Higgins or even Shenault necessarily.
What category?
It's just from from like ADP standpoint of where you're going to get these guys in your drafts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's usually Pittman, Higgins, and then it starts to get into that's where Mims comes off the board. It's at the lowest wide receiver.
Now,
6.
should Mims be like? I think Mims is interesting in that group of Bryan Edwards and Ayuk. Like that's where he becomes interesting to me.
Yeah, same here.
Well,
I take the other guys over Mims personally, but I get the upside factor. I get it.
Yeah.
Get out, Pete. Get out. This is a Mims pod.
I would never call someone stupid for taking Denzel Mims. He's got tons of ceiling.
He's super physical too.
Expand on
this class has so many high floor players. That's the thing.
Yes. To expand on J. Mike's point earlier, you mentioned the top 36 receivers, and the thing that just blew me away about last year, and people have probably heard me say this, 100 times, but there were 76 receivers last year that posted a wide receiver 1 week in fantasy. Now that's just 1 week. But what that tells me is that the variance is at an all-time high. So, you have an ability where, everyone craps on Ruggs because, I'm not going to be able to predict when he's going to have his big games. That's the narrative on him. I've heard that narrative, 50 times over the last couple months. But the biggest thing is if you're building teams and this variance exists, it all comes down to who do you sit, who do you start. If you can capture some of those spike weeks at the right time, especially if you're in deeper leagues, you have a lot more leeway to do it. It doesn't matter where they finish from a season-long standpoint. It doesn't matter.
People are making the mistake with Ruggs of applying his college paradigm to his future, which is it's just not. He's not playing at Alabama anymore.
I think he's going to get a lot of easy targets early on in that offense versus what people say. Well, he's going to be really boom or bust. I don't necessarily think so. I mean, you may not like him as a prospect, but I think there's going to be games where if you have him, he's the kind of guy I want on my bench when I need to throw in a receiver versus some of these other guys that maybe don't have the same ceiling. So I think that's the overall point at the position right now. There's just so much variance.
Yeah, and I mean, you could say I ripped on Mims because I think there's some floor problems there. You could say, hey, Pete, what about Ruggs? He's got floor problems too. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair thing to come back at me with. I just feel like his overall profile is so much better. He's so much more explosive. I mean, if Ruggs hits, he's going to hit like crazy. He's going to hit like freaking crazy.
Well, and one more thing to add to just from a value standpoint. I mean, look at what I know everyone brings up AJ Brown, but look at what AJ Brown did last year. Is there anybody in this class that you could see having such a good year on 85 targets to where you say, I can sell him for double what I paid this year in the draft next year, whether that's because of hype, whether it's because of how the market reacts on him? Is there a receiver in this class where you could see that happening? To me, it's Lamb because he's on the Cowboys.
There's a couple of them. You're saying could happen. I wouldn't bet on it happening, but it certainly could.
I mean, that level
of
efficiency.
If Amari Cooper gets hurt, Lamb's going to be a monster.
I'm saying, is there a guy that could have a year like A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown is probably one of the most overrated receivers in Dynasty. I mean, he got up to like wide receiver 7 or 8 this year. Ridiculous. I mean,
it is getting a little crazy.
You're pivoting off of him. I pivoted off of him. I got Calvin Ridley and Drew Lock in a super flex league. And I'm looking at it going,
That's good.
Ridley may outproduce A.J. Brown over the next 3 years.
Isn't it funny how people suddenly like Calvin Ridley?
Yes, because because when you were talking about old rookies, I was like, I remember all day people saying, Calvin Ridley better do it in year one. And to be fair, I think he had like almost 100 targets, and he went crazy with touchdowns. He went crazy with touchdowns. He got like almost double-digit touchdowns. It was something stupid. I'm gonna look it up here in a second.
Yeah, the touchdowns were silly, but he played well. Yeah. He could have had one touchdown. He still played well. And
he came out the gate and got the 90-some-odd targets, right? And went back and looked back. DJ Moore had 80-something targets. He was second behind Christian McCaffrey. So I think what's going to be interesting to see is how involved are these guys in year one, and maybe not even from a production standpoint. Just like what are you getting from a target standpoint? Because this kind of goes into a lot of what Peter Howard talks about in terms of one of the reasons why breakout age is so important is because we're looking at if someone does it really young as a freshman, they're coming in with no advantages from a scheme standpoint, from a strength standpoint, from any of those things. They're coming in from high school and doing it and putting it on paper. It's like, okay, I know this guy's good. Like he had no advantages and was taking on people who were either about to go in the league or 20 or more developed, 2-3 years in the weight room, whatever, and he's cooking. So what's really going to be impressive is do these, in the same vein of what you were talking about earlier, Scott, if their values are going to hold, what's going to happen to their value if they're not getting these normal training camps, but they're still coming out and getting 100 targets out the gate? All of a sudden, are we looking at like strapping rocket ships to their backs with like, it'll be some stupid value. You're going to look up and we're going to think that AJ Brown had a value spike. Let Ruggs get 105 targets for 65 catches and 1,100 yards.
Watch Visca soak up all those Leonard Fournette targets.
Any of that. Oh, you're gonna make him so mad. You're gonna make Peter so mad.
Well, J. Mike, you mentioned the two poster boys for this, AJ Brown and DJ Moore. If you look at their numbers, just their numbers in their rookie year, you would say, okay, their value should not have doubled from where it was because it was already high. So if I'm drafting a receiver, that's what I want. I will worry about it next year. If I can hit on that 2x value in 1 year, not even because I think that they're worth it, but because everyone else in my league does, then I have the option to say, you know what? I can get any receiver in that, wide receiver 13 to 24 range plus a first for AJ Brown. And those are the kind of deals you could make. That's the guys I want to draft and hit. That's the importance of hitting early. It's not because I think they're going to be able to do it for 8 years. It's because now I'm holding, the $1,000 chip in my hand that everybody wants.
And that goes to the point earlier when we were talking about the value of those 2021 picks, because Zach, like you said, 2021, and I listened to your podcast with Matt, 2021 already fully loaded, right? So we're really excited about what 2021 looks like. But if any of those guys get some serious targets out the gate, they are going to, like, you'll be able to cash that in for something serious with these Batemans, Chase, and Rondell Moore. Like, it's stupid.
It's crazy. Shameless plug. We're going to be talking about Trey Sermon and Sean Wade tomorrow, and it's going to be a fight between me and Matt. I'm going to tell you that right now.
TDDR, check it out.
Look, if the NFL rookies have a hell year, then the college players probably going to have a hell year too.
Even worse. Like I have way more concerns about college football than NFL football.
Real quick, a little off topic. Did you guys see Chuba Hubbard's tweet the other day that he's got an announcement coming up in a few weeks?
He's not eligible. He's not eligible for supplemental.
Oh, he's not because he's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. Is that why? Or
yeah,
I'm not sure, but I heard that he wasn't eligible.
Oh, he was eligible for the NFL draft.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. He should be eligible, but he has to apply to the NFL to get in. So they have the final call on who gets in the supplemental draft.
Has anybody heard anything about players who need another year of college to be eligible for the NFL? If there is no college football for some reason, those players will be able to just go pro as if they played, right?
They have to.
They have to. Right. They have to. Right?
So it's 3 years removed from high school. It doesn't matter whether you play or not. So they're eligible regardless.
Okay.
I'm just curious if Chuba was a red shirt, if he redshirted at all. If he did, then he's eligible. If
he's 3 years post already, yes.
Then yeah, he's eligible.
So it's a time duration. It doesn't matter whether. Okay.
Right.
But I don't know if the supplemental draft has anything different though.
But basically, I mean, if we're doing draft prep next year, watching 2019 college film,
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting.
I mean, I think the guys ahead of the game are already the guys that we kind of thought were coming out. You know, between Chuba and Etienne and there was another
Najee Harris.
I mean, think about this. Say college doesn't play. What's the combine going to look like? You're going to have a bunch of out of shape guys at the combine.
They'll
be working, but not in football.
They won't be in football shape, but they'll be in shape.
Yeah. Not like the combine is football shape.
Well, each other off the field and whatnot. Like they're getting on the practice field.
You listen. You take 200 athletes and you leave them to their own devices instead of having them in a program. A fair percentage of them are going to be in less shape than they otherwise would have been.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Fair point.
I'm just saying it's going to be a wild process.
It's going to be it's going to be something we've never seen in our entire lives, or probably ever will ever again. Like this is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
We're
just getting into this COVID shit. Yeah. It's going to be going on.
That's true. Sad but true. That's true.
Where else can you get this kind of fantasy analysis? The open bar, baby.
I don't want to bring you guys down, but I got a guy that's pretty close to some NFL GMs, and he tells me that the college game is in doubt. It's
shaky.
It has to be. It has. Think about how many college football teams there are.
NFL GMs are saying
I find it hard,
and it's state by state that teams are allowed to play. Like there's, it's so runs so deep. Some universities have money, some don't. Like you, oh my god.
Yeah, we got like 70% chance it's not going to happen, and it's like, oh, that's a big number.
Yeah. Just strap up an all SEC season and let it ride.
Let's go.
That's all we need.
You're
coming out of there anyway.
If you're a college player and you posted good 2019 film, you're not sitting here going, "Oh, I really hope that we play 220." You're gonna be like, "Well, who cares?"
Right.
You're gonna get drafted off your.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I don't have to go out there and risk my ACL. All right, no problem.
Right. People aren't jumping up above you. Yeah.
Yeah, it might honestly benefit players like those kids that stayed back, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of Trey Sermon, who we'll be talking about tomorrow, that dude's gonna be shitting his pants. He's gonna be like, "God damn it!"
And think about is there a Joe Burrow out there? Because it won't happen for him.
Right.
You know, if there's a guy who is going to break out next year and have the year that was going to make it, well, it's never going to happen. We're never going to find out.
It's already happened. Trey Lance.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like if we dialed COVID back 1 year, there's no Joe Burrow.
Right. That's a really good point. Oh man, that is a bummer. Thanks a lot, Zach, for bringing us there.
You know what's going to happen? We're going to have no college football season, but we're going to get NCAA football back. That's what's going to happen.
Oh my gosh! If we got the game back, I think COVID makes it all worth it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's not funny. That's not funny. I'm sorry, but I do want that game back. I'm just saying. But yeah, that's
not joking about the part where the game was.
I really do want NCAA back. That's true. That those were good times.
Clear that part up.
Yeah.
Didn't they have NCAA DFS and stuff at one point?
I think they do. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I thought they had. I mean, I never played, but it existed.
Man. One thing I'm really interested in, and let's before we get ready to wind things down.
Excuse me? This is my last podcast, like possibly ever, and you're just
you rubbing your eyes over there.
Who do you think you are?
I just love how you weren't paying any attention to anything going on the screen, and then I said that, and then you pop up like,
I stay listening.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I want to speak to the manager.
Like that old lady.
This bathroom is disgusting.
Who runs this establishment?
I've never done that, by the way. But my mom always does it. I'm so embarrassed to go and eat with her. She's the worst.
Haircut?
Oh shoot! What is I can't even. I'm sorry. Back to this draft class for a second. Who ended up shaking out for you guys? Obviously in drafts. I want to ask a few draft related questions, if we can do this quick hit style, I would love to, because I want to get through several questions. So this is the vaunted one word game, Gabe. We'll see if we can get through it.
Yeah, we got another 3 hours on this pod. Then let's
it's
ride.
Always way more fun. It's always way more fun to play it because it's never one word, and it's okay. But one word. Who turned out to be, and Scott, we'll start with you. We'll work our way around clockwise. And shout out to everyone that's listening to us in podcast form, but obviously you're missing out on the live goodness that is the open bar, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, never late, always on time-ish. Fair enough, Peter, man. Fair enough, Peter. And chat, I want you all answering these questions as well. And again, they'll be kind of quick hit-ish. So, Scott, we'll start with you, work our way around clockwise. Gabe, you're answering too. Thanks for playing since you want a pod so bad. The 2020 rookie RB5 for you at this current moment. RB5 in this rookie class is who?
Dobbins.
Jake, wait your
DeAndre Swift.
Swift for Scott. With Zach.
Oh God, RB5. Dude, why couldn't you said one? I had one figured out, but RB5.
Yeah, you got to think.
Because that's not fun. I don't want to hear who your one is. I want to know who your 5 is.
Oh God, I've been drinking. If I could just answer this on the spot here.
Let me go back to Scott real quick. Scott, did you say Keyshawn Vaughn?
DeAndre Swift.
Keyshawn Vaughn.
I was going to say Keyshawn Vaughn.
I'm better not being anyone's top 5, damn it.
I'm just messing with Scott.
I was going to get Jake a little riled up and say Keyshawn Vaughn.
Vaughn in the words 5 or higher should never even be uttered.
Exactly. You guys, Zach.
God. I'm going to go Cam Akers, man. I think that's the guy there at 5.
Pete.
I love him, but I'm going to go Dobbins. I've got Akers higher.
Okay.
Dobbins.
And Jake, you already said Dobbins is 5 for you.
I think people are underestimating Akers' ability to catch the ball.
Dude, Akers might be the most well-rounded back in this class.
Yeah, I don't
think some people are sort of not paying attention to that fact.
But here, okay, so I mean, I got Taylor's, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Dobbins, and then who's the other guy? Swift. And then I got Akers there. So I mean, honestly,
This is a tough question.
After one with Taylor,
they all are.
I mean, they all kind of jumble together.
Yeah, I really like these backs. I don't want to put any of them at 5. I really don't.
I don't either. As long as it's not Vaughn.
Gabe, who's your 5?
The Fresh Prince, Swift, Taylor, Dobbins, and Akers.
CEH? Is that how you spell it?
Okay. Yeah,
Gabe does want to be here all night.
No, he's trying to have me end this broadcast abruptly.
Who's number 5 overall? I would have just said maybe Lamb. Because I think one mistake people are making is not considering Lamb. The 5 running backs just go without thought sometimes. And I think personally, I could see taking CD over Dobbins. I can see it.
Me too.
I think it's fair, but what you just said is that you can get him at 7 or 8 or whatever, and that's great. And maybe there's risk involved in that, but that's totally worth it to not spend that draft capital to trade up or whatever to go to that 105. Or if you're at the 105 and you see that dude is thirsty for a running back, just trade back to the 106, 107 and still get Lamb.
Definitely. I agree with you. But I'm just saying, in terms of just valuing these guys, I think Judy, we haven't talked about Judy. Judy's amazing. I think Judy and Lamb both have a claim to the 5th spot on the board. I think they're reasonable picks there, and nobody's taking them there.
And I think what I'm about to post, shout out to you, Kyle Senra, up in the land over under Canada. So this is what's been fun to see is that even if you have someone like Akers as 5, which I feel like has been the prevailing thought. I won't say it's consensus. I won't say that it's
the most common, I think.
Yeah, that's most 5. The beauty of this year is you can take any of these guys, and I don't think that it will be shocking if you look up and any of the 5 are at the top of this group in 2 years. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, Cam Akers was the best back in the last 2 years out of that group. Like, oh, no way. Like, and that's what I find very, very intriguing about this draft. And then also on top of that, who just posted it? Oh, I'm missing it. I'm sorry. I lost the comment here. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Let me move on.
I think it's fair that, and on the flip side, like we are so thirsty for rookies, etc., wide receivers going top 36 in the first year, whatever. Like, all 5 of these running backs are not going to be successful. That's going to be very, very difficult for that to happen, just as history is told.
Well,
especially that all of them are pretty much second round running backs. I mean, sure, we'll give the CEH his first round draft capital. Okay.
Gabe, look at last year. I mean, was it last year? Yeah, last year. Who are the rookie running backs? You got Jones,
Montgomery, Jacobs.
Or not. They're 2 years. I'm sorry, 2 years ago. You got Penny.
Rashad Penny, right?
Penny, Sonny Michel, Ronald
exactly.
Jones, Darius Geis, and then you got Nick Chubb. All those guys were first, second rounds. There's one guy that hit,
Yep.
When you're looking at these guys and they all go within like 12, 20 picks of each other, it comes down to fit, not quality of player. So I think sometimes people take draft capital, but too much weight on it. Like Hilaire went first. Yeah, he went first because he fits that offense, not because he's better than all the other backs.
That's a combination, though, too. I mean, talent.
And I love Hilaire.
Scheme fit, I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a lot of talent, and that's a great scheme fit. I mean, you can make an argument he's RB1 in my opinion.
Sure.
I think between Taylor and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I mean, you're looking at those two that could fight over for RB1 in my opinion.
I think CEH is quite a bit safer as RB1 right now.
I think as a floor wise, yeah, because I mean you still have Marlon Mack. I think Marlon Mack's a good running back.
It's the offense. I mean, as much as a great fit that is for JT, we still have questions about pass catching ability. They have Hines, they have Mack.
Fumble worries too. I mean, Jonathan Taylor had a lot of fun.
Sure. I think receiving upside is my biggest and remains my biggest question mark for JT. But I like him. And, I mean, I was a little bit down on JT compared to the consensus pre-draft, but that is a really good run blocking offense.
I was going to say, man.
Yeah, talk about scheme. I mean, whatever. Yeah, we're excited about CEH being in Kansas City just because of that offense. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Zeke wasn't really in like that type of offense when he was drafted to the Cowboys. We were just excited because it was the offensive line.
Right.
And if that's going to work, then that's going to work.
But you also have to be careful because that can fluctuate after a year or two.
No question.
Yeah.
One season does not make a career. That's fact.
No, that's true. But I mean, I think that we could all agree that the Colts have a decent strategy within the last few years as far as what they're trying to develop as an organization. And I think the Cowboys sit there too, as far as what they wanted to do in terms of building around the offensive line. Everyone hyped that up for a long time, and Linehan and all that. And it was kind of a new movement. And then they drafted Zeke, and it was,
I could see them going way more run-oriented offense. They're building up that defense.
Big time.
And this was the greater point that I wanted to be able to get to. And I found the comment. Again, shout out to you, Kyle. At this point, I do want any of those 5 guys, like, period. Like, this is legitimately 5 guys, burgers and fries.
Though, J-Mike, though. Like, I don't get it. Like,
what do you mean?
But, like,
playing your flag.
But what I was just saying is that not all 5 of these guys are going. I mean, they could. All 5 of them could hit. But why are we not? Yeah, like Jake said, planting your flag. Like, why aren't we so committed?
This is Peter
to just 2 or 3 guys or something.
Because he's like, if you don't plant your flag on these guys, you're not helping anybody, right?
I'm not an analyst. I don't know. I'm not trying.
This is the open bar.
I co-host a podcast with my brother, and I like to laugh at a lot of people, and I say that in jest to some degree because whatever. I don't know what you call me. I don't know, and that's probably fair. What I'm saying is, I don't think you have to hate any of those 5 guys. You can plant a flag and say, because if it's me, I love CEH, and I've made that very clear on many fronts. right? But I guess the point is, like, I'm okay, like, because I feel like I could be dead wrong about Akers, because I think of the five, like, he's my least, like, he's my most distant of the group.
He is your
But I could
105,
be,
by the way. Sorry, we didn't ask you, J Mike. Is that your 105
No,
or
and
your fifth running back?
he is,
Okay.
but he flashes some special stuff, which is cool. And maybe Henderson and Brown aren't much of a thorn in his side as I think they might be. Like, all that stuff could be fun. But what I'm saying is, if I'm in the top 5 picks, I don't know that I'm trying to give up the world to get to JT. Maybe I'm just okay taking Cam, and I'm cool with letting the dice roll. But Jake, you're exactly right, because Peter's always talking about that's half the fun, right? Planting your flag planting your flag and being right or wrong, like it's like running with it.
But that's been my testament throughout this whole process is trade back to get whoever the RB5 is. And for me, Dobbins is in a tier below, but I don't think he's the RB5 very often. So, I mean, it felt like a few years ago when we had Mixon and Cook and Fournette and McCaffrey. Like, for me, Delvin became the clear value of that rookie class because he became the 105 in that, or the RB5 in that class.
But the difference is that those guys were first round. I mean, Cook wasn't, but those guys were first round picks. They were top 10 picks. Like,
the other thing is Dalvin was stepping into an offense where he could catch a lot of passes. My problem, how is Dobbins going to catch passes? If someone can help me get that down, then I'll sit there and say, yeah, he's got to.
I can't get over Dobbins splitting time with Mike Weber and not really doing a whole lot more than him 2 years ago. And then he gets put into such a beautiful scheme for any running back with Justin Fields at the helm. Like, and I know he's going to Lamar Jackson, so that, like, makes a lot of sense. And it is a great landing spot for him.
Running plays, where are the receptions coming from?
Yeah, I don't see it.
That's the problem.
He's not a special receiver by any means.
Look, you put him in a decent NFL offense, he'll catch balls. I wouldn't worry about it. But in this offense, Lamar Jackson's not hitting the running backs with passes. So I'm just
I think the flag plant here needs to be running backs dominate Dynasty. If you have a stable of running backs that are in their second or third year, your teams are in the best shape. Just what I talked about earlier. You can fill in receiver. There is always value at receiver. You can get it cheap because people start selling off veterans earlier than they can. So if I'm sitting on a team and I have Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins, my team is stacked. And there's a bunch of teams in my league that are sitting here on Kerryon Johnson, Marlon Mack. You know, they're going, man, I need to replace these running backs ASAP. So I think it's fair, like Gabe said, that all 5 aren't going to hit. But I think if they do hit, the value you have is, you know, look at someone like Taylor. If he hits, his floor is Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon. You're going to have him up there with Ezekiel Elliott value-wise. You can trade that for anything. You can trade it for the RB1 in next year's class and a starting receiver. So it's more of just like the running backs are the most scarce asset. And one thing to say with Gabe is the NFL is lowering the value on these running backs now. A early second-round pick is a mid-first from 5 years ago. You know, teams are not drafting guys in the top 5 like Fournette and McCaffrey and Zeke anymore. So
very much.
I think we just have to adjust our historical data to say, well, he wasn't a first-round pick, so he's not an elite running back. I don't think that's necessarily a correlation we can make.
I never cared about that to begin with, but I want some receptions out of my running backs these days. Unless I play in a 0.5 league, I want running backs who catch passes. And Dobbins I think he can do it, but the landing spot, that team, it's a concern, you know? So, and I think the same thing with Taylor. So, I mean, I'm with you.
I mean, I think JT has been vocal about trying to get better about that and did do that in his last season. And I think he did enough to at least make us feel a little bit better. And to keep going on what you're saying, Scott, I'm totally with you. Like I am one to follow trends and see like what the NFL is doing, because we have to watch what they're doing. I'm just curious, like what it is with the wide receivers that the NFL's not under in quotes catching, because we still see like 4, 5, 6 of these guys drafted in the first round. I just alluded to I don't know, like an hour ago, J Mike, I don't know how long we've been on here, but I was talking about all these wide receivers that have just been trash in the first round. And here we are jumping back onto this but I'm just not exactly sure why. And also the fact that I know you're saying this on a fantasy perspective that wide receivers don't matter, and I do kind of agree with you that it's such a high variance as far as scoring goes, and you can kind of just pick up anything. So why isn't the NFL picking up on something like that? Why are we still drafting wide receivers in the first round if there's such a high variance with that?
Well, I think here's one of my theories. If you look at the running back contracts over the last 5 years, it is very profitable for a team to draft a receiver and get early production from them. Because if you want to franchise tag a receiver, if you want to pay one of these elite receivers, what you have to pay them is a lot higher than, look at the franchise tag for a running back right now. I think it's $12 million this year for Derrick Henry. And the market has settled. Look at what somebody like Austin Eckler got, or Melvin Gordon and Todd Gurley got in their second contracts. So I think the equity a team gets by drafting receivers early and getting production from them is a lot higher, because they're going to have to pay them in their second contracts if they hit. They don't plan on paying running backs at all. And if they have to, you can go out and get one for, you could get Melvin Gordon this year for $8 million. You can get Todd Gurley for $6 million. Now, they're only probably a 1 or 2 year filler, but I think the teams are looking at this from a perspective of it's still more valuable to get a receiver early, but that doesn't mean that for the game we play that running backs are less valuable. I actually think they're more valuable if you hit on these guys, because look how quickly they turn over. I don't know if you guys have heard this year, but you're already talking about value loss on Kamara, Cook, Mixon, because they're going into year 4. They're going to be free agents. People are already off of those guys. People don't want those guys for Jonathan Taylor. So
do you think I like what you just said. Do you think another factor could be that people aren't looking at their fantasy leagues themselves as long-term as they used to?
Talk about it.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? People aren't saying, well, I'm going to take a
Yes.
receiver because I'm going to still have him in 7 years. I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that my league ain't going to be here in 7 years.
Or I just can't project that far out. I think that's
well,
always,
for me, I think I might not be here in 7 years, but that's all another thing.
Yes.
you'll be right there in that room, damn it, Pete.
I'm going to be right here in my attic so Gabe can be here.
Well, and we've learned from the last couple of years. Who was it? Zach that mentioned the 2008 class with Rojo, Carrion, Geis, Royce Freeman, Sony Michel, Rashad Penny. You could say 6 of those 8 guys were busts out of that class. And you're sitting there looking at, well, I drafted, I traded up to take Royce Freeman, and I passed on Cortland Sutton or DJ Moore or Calvin Ridley. And I'm like, man, that looks really bad. That's the risk you take on these running backs, though. If you pass up CeeDee Lamb or Judy to pick Akers at the 105, if he busts, that's a big loss. But I guess my point is, if he hits next year, I'm going to be able to name my price, and it's probably going to be able to include one of those receivers plus. So it's really just how much risk do you want to take. Dynasty, to me, is like a 2 or 3 year game now. So I'm taking the risk up front on the running backs.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, J Mike, one more thing, because Scott was flexing on us that he's in 30. What are you? Would you say 3,800 leagues? Is that you said? 3,800. Okay.
Roughly, we're taking that.
It's between 3,500 and 4,000.
Yeah, gotcha. But I think there's something to be said about like how many leagues that you're in, because if you're in like 2 or 3, then maybe you should just plant a flag on like 1 or 2 guys. But you're in like 35 leagues, so maybe you should diversify. I agree with that. It's dependent, maybe a little bit on how many leagues you're in. So with that said, could you, if you could, share how many, or if you know, if you have to like go through it now, then certainly don't. But just off top, if you know, like your kind of diversification between those top 5 running backs.
Bro,
how many times have you had the option to choose different running backs and gone a different way,
Yeah, and I've only done that once. I took one Swift share just because, like Jake said, he's typically a guy that's not falling to the 5th running back, and he was my RB5. So if I was ever in a place, I was fine staying in that spot, letting whoever falls to me. I think that, Gabe, you make a fantastic point that a lot of people that will ask me questions, I come at it from a point of, hey, if you're in 20 plus leagues, you can run your portfolio like a stock portfolio.
Yeah.
If I'm making 10% profit over here, I'm fine with losing 5% over here because I'm still making a net of 5% overall.
Yep.
If I'm in one league and everything's all in on this one league, I have a hard time going, man, I really don't like Cam Akers, but I'm going to take him over a receiver that I love because it's my one league. So I totally respect that point that, my approach is I come at it from a portfolio standpoint. So I'm always about value, regardless of whether I like the player or don't. But yeah, if you're in 2 leagues, I'm with you. Get your guys.
You're also a guy who trades a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my point is like, look, I'm a dad. I got stuff going on. I got time problems. So for me, it's
and you
like
got to do it all from that room.
I could say I'm going to make a bunch of trades. But I can't. But it needs to be a realistic thing that could actually happen.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. Yep. So much, man. I knew with one question, y'all would crush it. And
One word answers, baby. Let's get it.
I love it. And I knew it wouldn't happen, and it was perfect. No, please don't. I literally do that game.
Become a meme for the open bar now.
Legit. No, it's Pete. I kid you not. I'm not pulling your leg at all. It's absolutely perfect. You guys are great.
Yeah, I like that sound.
I've got one more question.
The show ain't over.
I've got one more question. Again, one word answers. And we'll go reverse this time. Gabe, we'll start with you. Oh, the point that I wanted to make earlier before I asked the question. If you look back at a lot of your drafts and a lot of your leagues and mocks and everything else that we did 2 years ago, it is so funny, Scott. I'm so glad you brought that up with all of because we definitely pushed all those running backs up. And it's funny to see the next 4 guys off after all those running backs. DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Calvin Ridley, Michael Gallup, Dante Pettis, right? So Dante Pettis being the one where you're just like get him out of here. But those other 4 guys, you talk about hits.
DJ Moore was up there quite a bit above the rest of those guys.
I was looking back.
He was in 101 conversation a lot.
Yeah,
in leagues that I was in.
Yeah,
and they're mostly with. This isn't the flex. Please don't hear me wrong, people.
Flex
it's
is
just
okay.
It's just with FF Twitter, right? So a bunch of folks who are doing podcasts and writers and all these content producers, things of that nature. And I'm looking, and DJ Moore is not going maybe Carrion was going after DJ Moore because he was kind of the guy who got to some degree he wasn't pushed up quite then.
Right.
But Royce Freeman's going ahead of him. Sony Penny, all those guys. Yeah. Anyway.
Freeman?
I think it became a starvation of I got to get a running back. So people started trading up to take the backs. And if you were in the position to take the receivers, you're like, oh, I'll take Cortland Sutton, 189, 110. Yep.
I remember.
And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I was literally just looking at it yesterday. And so when Scott brought it up, I was like, exactly. Yeah, that's I saw that. That was the case.
Well, I remember in Pigs 3, it was a first year, so everyone gets the same amount of auction money. Everyone, and it's points per carry, so everyone wanted fucking running backs, and I did too. But I remember sitting back and be like, I don't have money to get these guys, so I got Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, and one of the other ones for a quarter of the cost of any of those running backs. It is
me and Pigs 2 this year. The quarterbacks were going for insane amounts of money.
Quarterbacks are tough in Pigs, man.
For over $700. I got Ruggs for $200.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, Ruggs was a discount everywhere in leagues this year.
I got my whole draft for $200 less than what Tua went for. It was crazy.
Yeah.
My last question I want to get out because I'm curious kind of where things shook out for you guys. And I listened to all y'all's work, so I know the answer, but I want other people to hear you all too. Your wide receiver, actually, this is a 2-part question, so rock with me. The wide receiver that you have at number 2 in the class, and I want to know the wide receiver that you, and we're excluding Ruggs in this, the wide receiver in this class that you don't want on your team in 2 years. Again, the wide receiver 2 in the class and the wide receiver that you don't want on your team in 2 years. Ruggs cannot be an answer for either, unless he's your top 2, which is cool. Gabe, what do you got? So this is
wait. I have to say my wide receiver 2.
Wide receiver 2, and the wide receiver that you don't want in 2 years.
Okay. Well, my wide receiver 2 is Rager.
Okay.
I should have waited longer for that answer because now I have to think. I probably don't want Ayuk. I think that's an easy answer, and I guess maybe not for Pete. Sounds like he's onto the Ayuk train, but
I like Ayuk.
that would be one of those first round wide receivers that we're not talking about, like the last 3 years have shown us. But yeah, I guess I'd just say Ayuk. It's kind of boring. Right. Rager's not boring as a wide receiver 2, though. So take that.
Jake?
I have Justin Jefferson at wide receiver 2, narrowly over Judy. And it kills me to say because I had Chase Claypool in my Devy league for a few years waiting on his potential, and I cut him last year. And then he went first round in our Devy rookie draft this year. But I think Claypool's the guy I'd probably be out on. I mean, you can argue that he's not a bad value. I mean, a second round wide receiver you're probably getting in the early third, very late second. But I don't know if I trust his ability to be an X wide receiver.
My 2 is Judy, just by very little over Jefferson. And I'm just the guy that I don't want on my team is Mims. And then the other guy would probably be Hamler.
Okay.
I just feel like Hamler's
Scott's upset.
You cut Scott and Peter Howard in the bone with
that face was nasty, Scott.
Exactly.
As soon as he said that, I looked for Scott's reaction.
That is so interesting. He and I disagree on so much, but I respect the things he says so much. It's interesting how that works.
That's what makes this game so special, man. So special. You can respect somebody and completely disagree with them.
Really good for almost everything he says, but he and I see things a little differently.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So my wide receiver 2 is CeeDee Lamb. I think we talked enough about him, but I like him at 2 there. And then the guy I'm staying 100% away from, and I'm not an analytics guy by any means, but I do take analytics into question. Not a Ruggs guy, man. I'm just not a Ruggs guy. I don't see it.
Ruggs can't be the answer. No, that's the easy out. That's the easy out. Try again, Zach.
I'm not doing it. That's my guy. That's my guy I'm staying away from.
Every other wide receiver will be successful, but him, nope, not in 2 years.
Can we allow him to go more than the one-word answer?
I knew I was going away from rules here, and I just do not care because this is one guy who I'm 100% staying away from. I don't care what anyone.
Let him give us the why. I want to hear the why.
I also want to know who your wide receiver 1 is because I think that J. Mike framed that question okay. I feel like he framed it so that we would not say, Lamb as the wide receiver.
Judy's my 1.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming from Zach too. So
all right.
I listen to way too many. I keep up with way too many podcasts that I respect people's decisions.
I like that a lot.
J. Mike does his homework. I just show up in pod.
Scott?
I just show up in dad.
Yes. Well, I gotta, Pete's actually speaking my language on this. Judy, wide receiver 2. I do think if that's a tough question to predict which one you don't want on your team in 2 years. But I think if I see a path of what would that type of player look like, it's going to be an older prospect that has a chance to pop early. And I think if that is Mims, he will be the guy very similar to Terry McLaurin last year. McLaurin, people don't really think about it a lot, but he's going to be 25 in this September. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he was successful so early, a much more mature prospect coming in. I don't know if that's going to be Mims. And I was hesitant on Mims because I think there's a chance that, Gase is gone in 2 years. And then you see a potential value spike like you've seen tons of former Gase players get in Dynasty after he's gone. But I think Mims will be the guy that could pop off early. We talked earlier about he could be one of the guys that gets the volume this year. He'll be a sell candidate for me next year if that happens. So I'm with Pete on the 2, Judy and Mims.
After all
Mims
that disagreement,
Mims is the guy that you're avoiding.
Mims is the one I don't want on my team in 2 years because that's the guy I can envision
man.
selling.
All right.
And
I'm
I'm gonna do it to him, J Mike. I'm gonna do it to him.
Scott,
After J Mike answers this question for himself, I want the Jaguars takes on Visca from you two fellas.
Scott,
I love. Sorry, go ahead, J Mike. Hit it
Scott,
real quick. Go ahead.
You forgot to tell them. Inherently, you're an ageist. You're an ageist.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so that's the other part of this with Mims being 23, or either he's 23 or going to be 23, whatever.
He will be 23.
Scott
Yeah.
is an ageist.
Yep.
So that's the way it goes. Oh yes, here we go. I'm here for this.
Yeah, we can talk about that in just a moment, but may as well just let this ride, right? Can we?
Get
Is the audio? Does the audio share through this? Does that happen? I don't really know.
Try it.
We're gonna find out for sure.
Yeah.
Let's find out. Let's. I
Test it
thought I
first.
was gonna
Let's
have
not
the-
find out.
No,
Scott just hacked into your computer and it's like, nope.
Yep. Sorry, Bucko. Does that work?
No. No.
It's working. No
No.
sound, but it's working.
No sound.
We gotta see some sideline catches from
Yeah.
Mims.
This is sick. Yeah. Nothing. No sound.
Sound, bro.
Really?
Sorry.
Nothing.
They don't hear you spitting over it.
Guys, this
But
sucks.
I saw a few plays there where there's some separation. So
Guys, this podcast sucks.
James with the old sticky paws there.
We're so
J Mike.
we're so cheap.
My man.
Oh, here it is. No, wait. I got it, guys. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Ready?
A highlight video is not the same without the hardcore gangster rap.
It's true. Does that work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dog.
look at that separation.
Dude,
Hey,
highlight
hey,
package just got
hey,
so much better.
Hey.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot.
Oh, what was that? Jeez, did I just
This
get
is
an
why-
ad
this
on
is why
my
I'm hot,
video?
hot. This is why I'm hot.
I want to hear about separation.
This is why. This is why I'm hot. I'm hot. Drafting fly. You be drafting flops.
You're drafting
This is
flops,
why-
Scott.
This is why I'm hot.
You're drafting
I'm hot,
flops,
drafting
Scott.
fly. You be drafting flops. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. He ain't got a catch. Homie got the wheels, man. He could be running track.
Woo!
He represent New York.
Yeah.
He got it on his back.
True.
Gase may have lost it, but he gon' bring it back.
Yeah.
Athleticism dirty, and that is what I love. And the second round, it's a wrap. Give me the dub. His 40 was a flex. Trust he isn't slow. Sick him all day. Come on down to Waco.
Waco,
And
Texas.
he can jump high. Yeah, what more can I say? Left him in the dust, scoring TDs every way. Just before 20, that B is BOA. Dominated college against everyone he played. So if you have a tie between a couple guys, this is my advice. It is not a lie. ADP will move, just rise and rise. Drafted, they ask why. This is your reply. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot.
Whoa.
This is why I'm hot.
Whoa.
This is why I'm hot. I'm hot, drafting fly. You be drafting flops. This is why I'm hot. I'm hot, drafting fly. You be drafting flops. This is why I'm hot.
Uh-huh.
You gotta let it finish.
Yeah, you're right.
You gotta get to the payoff. Here's the payoff. Hey.
Good job.
Yeah, buddy.
I have a Mim share, and I'm excited.
The problem, man. Like Mims comes up against all my biases, right? I'm a Jet fan. You know, it makes it so hard. He's a second-round draft pick by the Jets. The Jets have ruined more second-round receivers than anybody in the history of the NFL.
And a Baylor receiver? Oh my god.
Yeah, again, like,
I know. I'm scared out of my life to do it, but I'm just gonna prop it up just cause. Why
I
not?
like it, man.
Into extra special shout out to Spaceman.
Yep.
Dave Wright, the Mr. Database Junior. If PA Howdy is Database Senior, then Dave is Database Junior.
It's his love child for sure.
No question. He's got obviously he had a league and he allowed a lot of us to give some analysis and make fun videos for his league. And apparently they had a great time with it as well. So Dave, we appreciate you, man. We see you in the chat, and glad we could have some fun with that. You killed it.
Boom. Boom.
Well
Scott,
done, sir.
Scott, did we change your mind, man? Come on.
I'm
This is why
excited
he's
about my
hot.
MIM shares. I am excited about my MIM shares.
This
I hope
is
he
why he's
smashes, so then I can trade him after this year.
Should I send that video to all my league mates?
Please
course.
do.
Yeah. I have it unlisted currently, but yeah, I'll open it up to the fans.
Jake, just to answer your question real quick about Chenault.
No, I
Yeah,
want,
true.
your wide receiver 2 first, and then
Oh,
He flipped it on me hard right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Executive producer flexing on me. Welcome back.
an analyst, bro.
like a light.
Wide receiver 2, Justin Jefferson. No question. And the player that I'm probably not going to have on any team is, I feel like Chase Claypool's the easy answer.
I thought Ruggs was the easy.
But that's my answer. What'd you say?
I thought Ruggs was the easy answer.
No, because I'm okay with taking a shot on Ruggs. A lot of what's said, just in terms of the boom potential. But yeah, it's Chase Claypool for me. I'm not gonna draft him anywhere. Visca in Jacksonville. I'm excited because I don't think that I ever saw LaVisca not hurt in college. At least me, for what I watched. And not everyone, a lot of folks that I respect a lot have great and raving things to say about LaVisca, the athlete, and what he does with the ball in his hands and all those things. And I'm excited to be able to get another playmaker down in Jacksonville. That's awesome. Like, it's great to see. I don't know.
Away from Fournette.
Yeah, and they were talking about trying to be able to run him some and do some different things. I don't know how they plan on using him, but I'm excited to see it. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it, Jake. I'm glad they chose him because I think he's good, and he did some pretty good things. I just don't know if I ever saw him healthy.
He's
hey,
such a fascinating mid-second round pick.
Yes,
To
no
me,
question.
like, he's so exciting to get in the middle of the second round.
Agreed.
Like
That's
I'm not sure. I haven't heard a lot of like why people don't like him aside from the injury stuff. For the most part, I guess.
Well, I think it's the fear of Cordero Patterson role.
but
But
it's not.
Like,
It's not.
Cordero Patterson wasn't that player in college. Like, he never really broke out, and he was a JUCO transfer. I mean, and I love
I
CPAT.
hate
But
that comp.
they're
dude.
not the same players.
They're not even close to the same player. The moment that people started saying, "Oh, he can do everything," so now he's Cordero, it's like, no, it's
He's
actually not
Debo
that at all.
Samuel on steroids is what he is.
Yeah,
You could make that. It's really not right to compare him to Patterson, who's a guy who I
No.
liked. Look, I got suckered by Patterson myself a little bit, but this guy's not the same. This guy's making plays down the field. He's making plays on the ball. He's running actual routes. I mean, Cordero, for the most part,
yes,
he did
exactly. He's a wide receiver. Like, he's wide receiver first,
you
in my opinion.
a lot of underneath stuff. He's doing a lot of. I mean, a lot of his stuff is yak, but he's a legitimate football player.
Zach, come on in, buddy.
Dude,
Come on in.
I don't see the route running ability that you guys are talking about. I really don't see it. I see he runs these college football routes. Yeah, I see these college football routes, but I'm not seeing like these legitimate NFL level route trees that every other good NFL wide receiver is running. Like he is Cordell Patterson in my opinion. He's a running back. He's a flex style wide receiver. He's somebody who can line out wide and a kick return. And he just doesn't have like a solidified role. You know what I mean? That's in my opinion. That's what I see.
I just don't know. I don't think I ever saw him healthy, and I think that he's probably really good at football. And I'm curious how he's going to be weaponized. And
Exactly. Yeah. I mean that's just it for me too.
Cordell Patterson fights routes and he fights the actual football.
Cordell.
I really thought he was a guy who was going to develop more than he did. I got
Jake
suckered by
knows the Vikings as much as I do. I think he can attest to this. Cordell Patterson's kind of dumb when it comes to football. Like, and I'm not trying to be a dick or nothing like that, but he just
he's not a mature individual to begin with.
Being as close to Vikings football as I have, like he could not learn the playbook to save his life. I mean, you even watch him playing for the Vikings. Like, he's running an out route when he should be running a slant. Like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, your quarterback's looking for you over the middle of the field. You're running an out route. It's like, dude, it's not even going to happen for you.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, if that's the case right there, I think we've got a difference between these two players, because I don't think Chenault's that guy.
Style of play, I think you can compare him, though, in my opinion. I think you could compare him to the way that they play now. You know what I mean? You look at Cordero in Chicago, and hear me out. You guys, I know you guys said that he's not compared to Cordero at all, but the way that Chicago played him last year, it's like it really is the same guy. He's a really good kick returner. He's someone that can play many different positions, being a total offensive weapon. I think that's someone that Laviska can be in Jacksonville.
And Zach, I think
let's break it down like this. What caused Patterson to fail?
What caused Patterson to fail?
Mental side, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, mental.
If that's the case, then I don't think we have the same problem. You see what I'm saying?
Sure, but I mean,
did Patterson fail because of a skill set, or did he fail because he was running the wrong play? I mean, I never realized he was empty upstairs personally. But I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just not something.
No, I know. But like, going back to like just physical skill set, I mean, is Cordero someone that can be a guy that could be a wide receiver? I don't think Laviska is.
The difference I see is in terms of the way that Patterson does fight the football with his hands. He did it at Tennessee, and he did in the pros. Chenault doesn't fight the ball. I think he can catch the football smoothly.
He's a much more nuanced wide receiver than Cordero was.
I agree with
okay, so
Cordero was an open field
in any way,
freak
shape,
athlete.
or form.
Yes, I would give you that Laviska is a better wide receiver than Cordero was. But I think when you look at them as a total overall skill set, they're pretty similar in traits.
But how about this? Cordero was a first-round rookie draft pick. Mid first, maybe late first, and Laviska is a mid to late second. Like, as far as a value standpoint, there's no way that we can, pass that up with that kind of ability and the flexibility really between playing all these positions. Maybe it's that like Cordell Patterson or Tavon Austin, like these guys were just ahead of their time or something, and Laviska is more appropriate for this NFL where there are kind of flex positions. We talked about this in past pods, J Mike, with Taysom Hill and Eckler, Jalen Samuels, like all these guys that kind of play all around. Evan Ingram is considered more of like the wide receiver type of tight end and things like that. I think we're moving towards a little bit more where we could have players play multiple positions. And
Cordero Patterson caught 46 footballs.
Do you guys remember Cordero Patterson's rookie season and what happened to his dynasty value after his rookie season?
You guys also realize that Cordero
was like a second-round startup after his rookie season.
Yeah, you guys realize that Cordero didn't start playing football till college, though, too, right? I mean, like, he was behind his time. His experience was behind his time anyway. But Gabe, to your point there, though, about like the Tavon Austins and Corderos and such that you were talking about, like, were they behind or were they ahead of their time? Possibly, like, that's a very good point. Like, maybe the NFL is going to adapt to guys like KJ Hamler in Denver and Laviska in Jacksonville. Maybe they actually start really, plugging these guys in and being like legit, fantasy prospects. But I think this is just more of an NFL move, in my opinion. I don't think it's a good fantasy move.
It's fair.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Moves in under the wire in one of my leagues. Sorry about that.
You were say that again, Pete?
I just got 4 contract moves in under the wire in one of my leagues. So I missed the last 30 seconds. I'm sorry.
All right.
Clutch. That just sounds
Congrats.
clutch. Yeah, for real.
Maybe.
Gabe, that's all I've got. I know it's been golly.
You're a liar. You're such a liar.
And by the way, we're talking about Chenault and Patterson. Chenault can't hold a candle to Patterson in terms of running with the football. And Chenault's wonderful.
He's not a returner. He's not an open field player like
Patterson. Like a whole other thing.
He's one of the best I've ever seen in the open field.
Right. Which is why so many of us sort of like went against our better judgment and said, yeah, he can do it. He can do it.
I was infatuated.
Guys, here, let's be real quick. They both have dreadlocks, so they're both the same player.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of Marion Barber traits.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Hey, at
just
least
no.
it only took us 2 hours and 10 minutes to get off the rails.
It's true.
Hey, Zach started it.
Let's close with this, Gabe. This will be my final bullet. The chef just posed a question in the chat.
Who's
what
the
up,
chef?
The chef,
Yeah,
James.
duh chef, FF chef, FF chef.
Just got a trade offer. What would you sell Montgomery for? And I presume that is a David Montgomery as opposed to Ty Montgomery.
Oh,
Such an ugly conversation.
I'm not trading David Montgomery right now.
I'm not either. Unless you give me that 21 first.
I own him. I'm not selling.
I don't think anybody's paying what his potential is still.
David's a good running back. I'm gonna say that right now. I just gotta squeeze that in there. David's a good running
I
back.
love David Montgomery.
Talk about somebody who
love
escaped
him.
the draft.
I don't love him, but I'm not giving him away. No way.
Oh, I don't know. Can't
He's
give him away.
taking his gig. Nobody's
What's the
taking
offer? He said he got an offer. What's the damn offer, James?
Calm down.
wow. Jake, bud.
Yeah, but we don't know if he's getting scraps or if he's like someone's actually really paying up for him.
Maybe they aren't even the same question. Like the trade offer, didn't involve Montgomery at all, but he wanted to throw in Montgomery somehow.
Just making a statement. Just got a trade
Yeah.
offer. Oh, by the way, on a different tangent.
This is 2 questions, J. Mike.
Scott, do you have any leanings right now of Montgomery?
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned he survived the draft. So, I mean, that's a positive there's a lot of other running backs that didn't. So, I mean, I think
Gonna get volume, man.
Yeah, you can't sell him right now. I'm only interested in him if there's some sort of, half PPR or point per carry. Like that's where I might actually buy. But if I have him last year, I'm obviously selling at a little bit of a loss. So I don't think you can sell that volume. There's probably going to be less than 15 running backs that see the volume that he did. So it's hard to cash out just on what your value getting on your roster.
I want to play J. Mike's game real quick. J. Mike,
No.
can I? May I? What? You want to go?
Go ahead.
You want to go?
Just do it. Just do it.
No, we
Just
can
do it.
leave. No,
Do it.
I just
Do
wanted
it.
to play the
the game.
would you like kind of
Play the game. Play the game.
Oh my
Just do it.
goodness. I'm never texting you again after this baby.
Unbelievable.
Are you gonna say play the Would You Rather game?
Yeah, just like
'Cause
the
I can't play that anymore. My daughter is just everything is Would You Rather game. Would you rather eat 18 spiders or 17 grasshoppers?
Hey, at least
I would go grasshoppers, honestly.
Grasshopper for sure.
All day, yeah.
Grasshoppers.
And then she's
You can
always
let
so
her know.
shocked when we agree or disagree. It's great.
Yeah. Really? All right. No, just the running backs you would rather have. Real quick on Montgomery. Let's go. Let's start with Aaron Jones.
Jones.
Easy Jones.
Okay,
Montgomery
just-
for me. I'll fight all you.
Dang, it's like that, Zach.
Hey, Mike. It's
It's
just
I like
a 3-hour show. One word answer.
I think we got to go a little bit closer to ADP here.
No,
Or are you
it's
just working down. You just working down.
Jones. I mean, we're already flirting with,
Yeah, that's
or
like
everyone's 105. Cam Akers was
Don't
where I was
go higher
considering
than that.
starting. But all right, so Aaron Jones. Most of us are going to say Jones, except Zach, and he will fight us till the end of days. But it's okay. We don't have to fight. We just have to
The thing
say
about
one word.
Montgomery is he caught 25 balls and he's capable of catching 6.
He's a good pass catcher.
He really is. And we got to at least be fair.
All right, Leonard Fournette or David Montgomery.
This year only?
Jesus,
Montgomery.
dynasty.
David here.
I think I'm going Montgomery there.
If I took David over Jones, I got to take David over Fournette here for sure.
Okay, Scott, did you answer?
Yeah, I think you got to go Monty over Fournette for sure.
Okay. Kenyon Drake.
Drake.
That's a roll of the dice right there, man.
Again, we're talking career. Yeah, I'm going
Dynasty.
Drake.
I think
Talking
that's
fantasy football. Like, who do you want on your team?
Because even if you don't like him, you're going to be able to sell him real soon.
Give me David.
Exactly.
Give me David too, but it's close. I understand the upside with Drake. I think people are projecting his efficiency from last year to carry over for a full season, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Bro, if Tariq Cohen's gonna keep catching 100 balls, I can't get with him. I can't do it. No. Daniel Drake. Oh, that's gross.
People forget.
That's gross.
Let's keep going. Todd Gurley.
Montgomery.
Monty.
Yeah, Montgomery.
All right. Devin Singletary.
Oh, David Montgomery.
Monty.
Singletary's not that good.
Don't forget about Zach Moss. Guys, don't forget about Zach Moss.
Zach Moss, yeah, I will.
We're gonna split between Singletary and Montgomery. A lot of these have been splits, to be honest.
I sort of like Zach Moss.
You upset Scott with them?
I think maybe the most interesting one is maybe Melvin Gordon.
Oh, he's gone. He's came.
You back. I know you don't like Zach Moss, but we thought the Zach Moss slander sent you out of here. Scott.
No, I was going to say Montgomery or Keyshawn Vaughn. I think that one's pretty close.
I'm getting there.
I'm definitely taking Montgomery there.
Montgomery.
All right, let's keep going. Melvin Gordon or David Montgomery?
A lot of smart people have been, like Derek has been, hyping up Gordon a little bit lately, and I think he's got a decent point for a nice 2-year window with Gordon. I think he might be a dynasty buy.
Yeah.
I think Gordon can hang. I think Montgomery can hang with Gordon, and then I think the youth factor makes him more valuable.
Okay. Let's.
Is Gordon going to get all the juice up there? No way.
I think
they might want to though.
For my guy Jake, he seems to be a Lindsey proper.
I love Lindsey.
Yeah, how are we going to
absolutely love Lindsey, but I don't think. I think what Denver wants to do and what Shermer wants to do is have a feature back.
Okay.
So
you're saying Royce Freeman?
No.
Freeman. It's not like Freeman's played bad.
Dude, Freeman's not a bad.
No,
Every time Freeman starts playing well,
he just was never nearly as good as people thought he was.
I think.
Did you hear that, Gabe? Did you hear that, Gabe? Never nearly as good as people thought he was. Just want you to hear. That was what the executive producer just
people
said.
Think he was good.
We've had that argument before.
Pete. People thought Freeman was real good.
Really good.
Because I always thought I was above consensus on him, and I never loved him.
I actually like buying him right now. I think he would fit better almost anywhere else than in that Denver scheme. He's a guy I'm actually trying to get thrown into deals because I could see him.
He's a 228-pound guy who catches the football real well.
Exactly. I actually am hoping he gets moved because that was the complaint last year was, they just were more impressed with how Lindsey hit the holes than Freeman. That's why they relegated him to the pass catching guy. And that's not how you'd profile him. So
he's a patient runner.
Yeah,
Lindsey is an attacking runner.
Yep.
Yeah. Lindsey happened to play on a lot of plays where there was better blocking, better schemes. Freeman broke more tackles, more yards after contact, all of that stuff. But
Freeman did have some good. He had some moments. It would be unfair to say otherwise. I think.
Imagine Freeman in Seattle.
It's a bummer.
That would be interesting.
Bring him back.
He might drive Pete Carroll crazy.
Bad role there, but.
Pete Carroll likes those Carson types, though. He likes Thomas Rawls. He likes guys who just get it in there, So I don't know.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Where did I leave off? Melvin Gordon. Let's go with your first round, late first round pick equivalent from Royce Freeman to 2020, Keyshawn Vaughn. Keyshawn Vaughn or David Montgomery?
Monty.
Montgomery's not going to do a job. I'm going to take Montgomery.
This will shock you. I actually might take Vaughn because if he hits, major profit. I think Monty's going to have a hard time ever hitting the return value. So really his value's on your roster. Whereas if Vaughn Vaughn pops early, I think he's somebody that you're going to be able to sell for a lot.
The problem for Monty is that Foles is not going to play that long. Foles ain't playing 16 games.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem for Monty, I think.
I like how you just slide in Foles ahead of Trubisky automatically.
Hey, I actually have shares of Trubisky. I'd love to see him win it, but it feels like
I like Trubisky. That one stings still.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right. 2 or 3 more real quick. Le'Veon Bell or Montgomery?
Lev Bell.
I'd go Monty, but I think it's close.
Yeah, Monty.
I just wish Lev was somewhere else because he's still good.
Lev Bell could catch a lot of passes this year.
He looked really good. It's just that offense did him no favors. They didn't use him appropriately. That was just.
Well, but it's funny. Speaking of Lev, you remember early in his career, he did have the volatility narrative about injury and potentially missing games. You know, he's suspended and he had the injury narrative. He might be a guy that just lasts like 4 or 5 more years. I mean, he is one of the true workhorses right now in the league.
Yeah.
And the Jets
probably have last.
And I don't mind. I don't mind picking up P. Ryan for absolutely free either. It's just a little handcuff.
And even that, like, it's a 4th round pick. Like, it's not threatening by any means.
No. But I
was on the verge of taking
P.
Ryan a bunch of times, and he went right in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not spending a lot. All right, and then Kareem Hunt.
Ooh, God, talk about an investment that could pay off huge if everything goes right.
A great mid-round redraft pick right now.
Absolutely love Hunt.
So Hunt over Montgomery.
Maybe. No, I love both of them.
Hunt is
Montgomery over everybody at this. Like, he left for a while because he was like Monty over anyone you say.
Hunt is a souped-up Tevin Coleman from the last couple of years. I mean, one injury away from winning leagues, whether it's season-long or dynasty.
But yet people still think he was only good because he was with the Chiefs.
Right.
People really think
my mind. Yeah.
Really?
No, he's not. He's not that good of a talent. It was all the Chiefs.
Oh my gosh.
That's out there.
Nah, Kareem Hunt's legit good.
He's good
at everything.
Maybe not at people skills, but well, all right. Last one, Chris Carson.
David Montgomery all day.
Monty. Okay, I did this kind of in a boring order. I just went from the top running back down to the lowest running back, but I did 10 of them, I think. I went from RB17 to RB27, so 11 running backs. But Aaron Jones was the top one, and then Montgomery was just stuck right in the middle at RB22, which is so the overall was between, and this is non-superflex here. So 32 overall, 32 to 83 is what we went on the range, and Montgomery is at 60. Like I said, kind of dead in the middle there. I feel like there was a lot of back and forth though. And I think that Montgomery, basically when there's a lot of back and forth, I mean, mostly on the top end though, there's a lot of back and forth. And when that happens, you kind of have yourself a value, I would say. And volume matters. I know.
If I had some second-round rookie picks, I think that'd be something I'd love to be floating right now for a guy like David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Montgomery's got pass-catching chops, man. I mean, that's the money skill for scoring points at running back,
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing is those skills don't go away. Like, guys who can catch the ball can catch the ball. Like, even when they get beat up and they're not the same guy after contact, they're still pretty good receivers.
Unless they lose eyesight.
Yeah.
It's funny, looking back to last year about seemed to be maybe a little bit more hate than love for Montgomery. Kind of.
Well, that's because he's getting like Saquon Barkley type of power and
the Le'Veon Bell vision and all that is like okay.
Right.
That's why people hate him.
And he was RB26 at the same time last year, and now he's moved up a few slots. So
it's funny, man. There's so many of these guys where like I wasn't high on them coming out, but then when they bomb, everybody just like leaves them for dead, and I'm like, well, like Rojo's an example right now. I was never high on Rojo, but now everybody's like, Rojo sucks. He's completely awful. He's dead. He's completely worthless. I'm sitting there going, I don't know.
Hear that, J-Mike?
It's amazing how value will shift your preferences on players.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's better to just like have a deep runner and not move around so much.
Carry On is 22. That is so unfair.
Carry On got a bad beat.
Gabe, just wait till your kid uses. It's so unfair on you.
Carry On's one of those guys where he could have a big second contract.
Let me tell you about Carry On Johnson, bucko. Let me tell you about Trey Mason.
It's only going to be a couple years until you can actually communicate with them.
Think about it a season or two from now. Carry On Johnson signed with the Jets or something like that.
All right. We got to get out of here. J-Mike's going to get mad at me. This is it. This is the open bar. We've done it. We've done it again. This is a David Montgomery podcast. We're going to give everyone an opportunity to say what they need to say about themselves. And J-Mike, do we have a draft to end this thing? Do you have any ideas?
No, I wish I had a good one. This is a great group to have a draft with, but I didn't.
I know. Maybe we could do something with the daddy thing.
Scott's not a dad though.
Yeah, but neither am I.
I mean,
yeah. Well,
okay.
Yeah, right. So we'll combine this with our outros. Feel free to say what you need to say about yourself, but we are also going to do a draft, 101 through 106, and this draft is going to be about let's make it about poops. Because we were talking about poop earlier and baby poops. So 4 of you are going to know about poops like very well, and then Scott and I are going to just kind of try and guess. So maybe we'll, talk about something else. I don't know, but we're going to talk about poops. Okay, so baby poops, or maybe Scott and I have to talk about other poops, and you are going to have to make that poop into a player. This doesn't necessarily have to be bad. This could be a good thing. Like there could be good baby poops versus bad baby poops. I don't really know what kind of poops exist, but there are good poops versus bad poops, right? Probably.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. There's good ones, but there's oh shit.
Yeah. All right. So, look, hey, you can get into it. Get into it. All right. Get into it. But you have to comp it to a player. All right. You always have to comp it to a player. So give me your life story of what you're doing in fantasy football, but as well as your pick in related to a poop and a player. So, Zach, sorry, J-Mike, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, and plug whatever you would like to plug in this moment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll have the stage.
It's a dual moment for sure. So, Zach, great to have you on the show. Please share whatever you need to share, but don't forget, poop, player.
All right, I'll do my best to keep it short and sweet. But it's been fun chatting some ball with you guys, so I really appreciate you guys having me on first and foremost. But for me, if you don't know me, you can find me on Twitter at NFL_Zach. And then my website is dynastydraftroom.com, where we focus mainly on the NFL draft, Devy fantasy football, and Dynasty fantasy football. I got a full team of NFL draft analysts that have already been putting out 2021 scouting reports for you. So that 2020 draft ended, and bam, we moved to 2021. So lots of good stuff going on over there. We just had a conference call with our Devy guys. Like we just had to try to find out, figure out some ideas of what we can do different than everyone else. And lots of great ideas coming up over there. So I'm really excited for what's coming out there. But yeah, man, check out dynastydraftroom.com. We just got a bunch of stuff over there. And man, I got to compare 6 players to poops. That's the deal.
No, just one. Not 6.
Just one. Okay.
Here's 101. You get the 101.
Oh, I get the 101. Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, too easy, right?
This is cake then, man. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that hard poop that's not super runny or nothing like that. It's that hard poop that just doesn't really smell, but you know that your baby pooped, so it gives you that warning sign hey, I got to change my baby's diaper, and you look and it's oh, damn, it's these 2 little nuggets that don't even smell, and you wipe your butt with one little wipey and you're good to go. And that's got to be the Saquon Barkley of poops right there.
Strong.
See, the dads are going to relate to this, and Scott and I are just what the fuck are
you guys know what I'm talking about, right? I can't 106, which is just this explosion of bathtub diarrhea.
Oh gosh.
Oh Lord.
I don't even know what I'm gonna pick. I should have been the 101, so I could just like guess what it would be like because I don't even know like poops. So, all right, Pete, you are next. Prop yourself. Don't forget about the poop and the player, though. You're up, bud.
You got it, man. Look, not a whole lot to pimp as far as what I'm doing these days. There's a whiskey podcast that I'm doing, so if you like whiskey, you can check that out. Fantasy Highland, it's fun. As far as poop, I would say the player I would say is a little bit close to poop. I'm not going to rip on Mims anymore because, quite honestly, I like Mims more than I've indicated. So I want to lay off him a little bit. I think sometimes quarterbacks in these super flex drafts go a little too high. So I think, look, if you're taking Justin Herbert in the first, that's poop. And that's it. That's all I got.
Wow. Nice. I like that.
And I don't think Herbert's a dog, but I think in the first round we're talking that's poop.
Was I too elaborate on my type of poop?
I didn't want to get too specific about the shapes and all that stuff. I just wanted to,
real quick. I'm interrupting here, but J. Mike and Gabe, the last time I was on, you guys started recording before I knew it, and I was talking about how I was holding my baby up over my head. And she remember that? So, now we're talking about
it's all about perspective. In the second round, he's not poop. In the first round, Herbert's poop.
I like how J. Mike finally remembers who I am now.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, that was it. That was like the moment, though. That was it. That's good. Oh, my God. All right. Our order changed here. So around the clock here, Jake, our EP, my guy, my dude. So happy to have you back. Share anything that you would like to share about yourself, but also poop and player.
I have nothing to pimp really. I just want to say I missed this. I missed your faces. I miss chatting about fantasy football with you guys. More than you'll know. But the only thing I'll say is SFB is coming up, and let's all be our best in this community and pump up Fantasy Cares and make our donations and help support that amazing league. But as far as poops, I will have to go Keyshawn Vaughn, and the equivalent is like a stomach virus diarrhea that the poop smells like sickness, and that's not necessarily just babies. That's any of us. But
that's real.
That's you don't want any of that.
Jake, I'm disappointed. I was hoping for more of a dad poop from you, like understanding some like baby poops. I was really hoping for something deep and detailed.
Oh, I have another one.
You don't get dad poop after midnight.
That's facts.
Dad poop.
You'll understand soon, Gabe.
Oh no. I'll be texting everyone.
You know all about that soon, man.
Guys, what's happening? All right. Scott, we made it to you, man. I'm sorry if there's no poops left available. I'm sorry if you had to go and Google like different type of baby poops.
There's always
I know the player knowledge is not the issue here, but possibly the baby poops. I don't know. So share what you need to share about yourself, and then player poop.
Well, appreciate you guys having me again, and you can find me on Twitter at CharlesChillFFB. My podcast is Dynasty and Chill. I have another high-stakes podcast for the FFPC called Chasing the Helmet, so check that out. I think we're 14 episodes in now, so that's really ramping up. And, Gabe, I can relate. I don't have kids, but what I do have is I have 4 cats, and that means all the time I am cleaning out litter boxes. So I gotten to the point now where they just stand there and wait until I clean it so they can get right back in and shit again. So I'm going to compare that to Jameis Winston because I think that Jameis needs a fresh start. And that's how the cats feel every time I clean those litter boxes. So I think 2020 is going to be a clean litter box for Jameis Winston. And then boom, he's going to I think he's got a shot. He's going to get multiple opportunities after 2020.
Saints are a litter box.
There we go.
So good.
Very well
That
done.
was really good. Really
Very
freaking
well
good.
done.
Grown.
You three dads should be embarrassed. He just smoked y'all on that.
Man,
Once you have kids, your processing ability is not
Yeah.
near.
it's not
Fair.
Yeah, really.
That's
O'Connor gets to sleep at night.
That's fair.
I don't want to hear this.
but when you're a dad, it's all there.
All right. Let's see. I will. Well, I will. Yeah, I'll take the 105, and I'll say first of all, thank you for, J Mike as well, obviously, for making this pod just such a pleasant experience. I just truly had a great time tonight. We just good balance of laughter and player talk, all of the things, and it was good. And we argued, and we don't hate each other at the end, which is just what everyone wants out of Twitter, but that doesn't happen. So bring it here instead. Yeah. All right. So yeah, thank y'all. Love y'all so much. My I don't know, like I literally know nothing, so I'm gonna go to this. We played this baby shower game. My wife made a puzzle, and she made a bunch of like words, like kind of try to guess the word that I'm talking about, type of thing. And one of the words was blowout. All right. And like all of the parents got it immediately. Like they knew exactly what a blowout was, and I was like, it's just, you just kind of like sound like you know what a blowout is. And to my knowledge is just like, oh shit, basically, like literally in that diaper. And sure, they pooped, but is it a bit much? Yeah, I think so. And for me in super flex leagues, I'm thinking that's Lamar Jackson, y'all. Okay, he's at his peak right now. If you want to go and sell that guy, go ahead, because you're probably going to get some good juicy stuff. I mean, I see this year after year in these super flex leagues. I reference Carson Wentz often, or Aaron Rodgers often, or Russell Wilson often, that they were once the number 2 overall or 1 overall QB, and it's just not super sustainable. And you have to look at the market and look at your league and look who's thirsty for that quarterback in your league. And he's a blowout, guys. He's good. He's fine. That's fine. That's great. But it's going to be tough to sustain what he did in 2019, or even get better than that.
That first
I
blow.
like that take.
And you're like, oh my gosh, look at Lamar Jackson. When you see that first blow, you're like, oh my God.
No, but I mean, if you had Lamar Jackson and Mahomes as your quarterbacks right now, which one would you sell? You'd sell Lamar.
Oh yeah.
But then he goes off, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just sold my.
No. I mean, it's going to hurt for a couple of years. I mean, but
Couple years.
his value is tied to his athleticism more than Mahomes is.
It's true. You have to trust that he is going to develop to be a pocket passer, and
Exactly.
I think he's shown enough, I guess, to have some trust in that, but
Not like Kyler or a guy like that, though.
yeah. Kyler's another kind of sell high too, but anyway, neither here nor there. Just about J Mike, my dude, my guy, my friend. I'm sorry that we did this to you. I'm so sorry. I won't do this to you for 2 more weeks. And maybe in 2 weeks I'll be the guy over on the other side. I'll be like, hey, can we
Yeah.
I'm ready to kick rocks, bro. That's what J Mike says to me. So J Mike, what do you have to say to the people, the fans, and your pooping player? Give it up.
First and foremost, I cannot explain how excited I am for you, Gabe, and this upcoming child. My entire plan prior to COVID wrecking stuff was the fact that we're going to fly down and be there with you guys and be able to help and encourage and all that stuff. And sadly, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, but I'm excited for you either way. And yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am about that. Words don't express how thrilled I am for you. Next up to our guests, I truly have looked forward to this night for too long. I have a great amount of respect for the work that you all do / did, Jake, and I am so pleased to be able to take in your work, to be able to chop it up with you guys on Twitter every now and again, and just be able to take in all of your gems, your wisdom. So again, thank you all for joining us, for staying between the poops and all the nonsense and everything else. Just grateful for you guys. I truly, truly am. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that flippantly. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you. To everybody in the chat, appreciate y'all. Y'all kept it lit all night. Big B came through later. Kyle Stenver came through. They kept it lit to close us out. James, the chef, was in the building. We had all the good folks in. Hogue even came in. James came in. Tyler Gunther, Casey McCoy, AB, all of our usuals. We appreciate y'all so much. Thank you guys for kicking it with us. Obviously, you can find us wherever podcasts are: Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you want to leave a review, we'd appreciate it. If you don't, thanks for taking 2.5 hours to be able to have some fun and nonsense with us. We appreciate that too. And for us to a friend if you'd like. But again, thank you for rocking with us. You can find me on Twitter at JMikeCheck, at JMICCheck. Show's handles at The Open Bar Pod on Twitter. And real quick, Gabe, you'll find that at least once in your fatherhood, it'll likely happen early on. You'll be waiting and you're like, try to catch the kid between poops so that you don't obviously have any issues where it gets on you, because sometimes it's like a projectile. But like you may have one, you'll literally have maybe one, maybe two projectiles that take place in the midst of like when you're changing the diaper. It just happens. Like it's crazy, but it's a phenomenon dads know very well. That phenomenon being Robert Griffin III. You had the first season where things were just blew out like crazy. It was like, whoa, this is crazy. What's going on here? This is extraordinary. And then everything else is pretty calm thereafter from a poop standpoint. So I'm going with Robert Griffin III as the explosive poop early. That does not bring the same bang for the buck down the road. And you can find my main man, FFI that baby pappy, Genius MC, Bun G, G Squared, Mr. Gearing if you nasty, Goat Daddy, on Twitter at FFManBun. Gabe, take us home.
Did I had one for you earlier, right? We had one. I said so many FFs earlier, guys. Oh boy, I gotta listen back.
The chat hit me with J Mims check, so I changed my Twitter to that.
I like that. J Mims check.
Yeah. I laughed at that.
This is why you're hot. All right, I'm with that. Speaking of J Mims check, he's got a couple of podcasts himself. Dummy Blitz. Haven't seen one of those in a while, J Mike. But what I have seen is the Journal Drop. Haven't listened yet, to be honest, but about to. Excited. So go check those out. Go check all of this stuff out that these guys are putting out. All right. Everything. Even Jake's Avies, okay? It's got fish season, bucko. Giddy up.
Got it, man. He hasn't lost a touch yet.
It's true. Zach just bought like what do you say, $3,000 worth of your own merch just because you like the logo?
$3,000 worth of my merch because of that logo.
I think I worked out some kind of royalties in there.
Yeah, where's that? Where is that, by the way? Yeah, for every
Hey, Jake, talk to Matt about that. I have no idea.
I'll settle for a shirt.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, look. Hey,
talk to Matt about that.
They might filled in for Kyle. He was literally a dummy, and he was on a podcast.
Nice.
So go and get it, son. That's all I've got. You know what? I've done a couple of podcast intros this weekend. I don't know when I will be back here. I'm just kidding. I'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll be back in 2 weeks. But I've done a couple of intros this weekend. I had so much fun doing them. Man, it was so good. And shout out to Pop the Hood, Aton and Stompy. But it is just Stompy and Hogue. We saw Hogue in here out at the FF Mercenaries, the Marks. All right. Put the A-Team hip hop beat together and dropped an intro for them. So shout out to them. Go and find their podcast and go and ask them for help. Figure out where you can draft. Denzel Mims, LaVisca Chenault, all the guys that everyone hated on this podcast. Figure out where you can draft. or what is your running back?
Was that a shot over here?
Just a slight. And shout out to the Fantasy Coaches podcast. All right, they reached out to me as well. Dropped one for them. I really, really enjoyed that one as well. Got some freedom with it. Really, I like that one a lot. I don't know. I like that. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Go and get it. Go and listen to those podcasts. Subscribe to whatever they're doing. It's all good stuff. So that's all I've got. We are the Open Bar. We will be here in 2 weeks. J Mike, I was looking at the previous, because I was actually getting scared that we were going to somehow beat a record previously set by Brian Haar. Not even a fucking chance. That is 1 hour away from being broken.
Oh my god!
How did we do that? We podcasted.
It was. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
So I thought 240 was nuts, and then I looked at their record. And it is 340. Man, you four can sit down after this. All right, go ahead, sit down. Think 1 hour from this is when we were still podcasting. So, all right. No, I love all of you, and if I was gonna make this a last episode or whatever from having a baby, this would be it. This is perfect. Love y'all. Good stuff. So put your drinks up, put your whiskey up, put your water up. I don't care what it is. Put your fist up. Let's get this thing. We are gonna say goodbye. This is the Open Bar. And throw up one of these or both of these and cross them over and do one of those. And then it is deuces.